you compare that and you go, well, maybe Boomich was actually the problem of the best team before, right? And I know that seems like a crazy thing to say, but like, and I know that they were winning and they won the major and all this kind of shit. But when you have Bit, Simple, and then you've obviously got Electronic, why did we even need Boomich going aggressive before anyway? Like those three names right there, like they didn't really need that martyr.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their fourth generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets guaranteed.
Hey buddy, let me show you how to fix that. Bitskins.com. Buy and sell skins instantly. Deposit and withdraw funds instantly with crypto or directly to your Visa card. Woohoo! Bitskins.com, the best skin marketplace.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Counter-Strike fans around the globe, welcome to another installment of HLTV Confirmed. And we're still keeping the seasons as a bit of an inside joke and a meme. So Season 6, Episode 20, brought to you by Xtrfy. We've got some Bitskins in the mix and N1Bet. Gamble responsibly. So thank you to our sponsors for powering the show and bringing us to you live and direct. Anchor.fm/HLTV if you want to catch those audio-only options. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many, many more. Tonight on the show, we have producer Lucas here. Lucas, sexual moaning only this week is on the agenda. Can you give us your best sexual moan now?
No, I don't want us to be demonetized from the get-go.
Okay.
Let's
all
see
right,
if it
fair enough.
happens.
Maybe later in the show, then we might get it. All right. And we might get demonetized later anyway. We know that there's some favorite words we get thrown around. And this is a big one, guys. This is massive. We have some huge, groundbreaking news to kick off tonight's show. And he's sitting there quite quiet. You can see a little bit of a smirk starting to come into his face. But I want everybody at home. I want everybody at home right now to stand up in your living rooms, in front of your television, in front of your computers, on your phones. I want you to stand up and give a round of applause to Striker. He's now being verified on Twitter. And is this the happiest day of your life, Striker?
I have to say, the come down was really fast. It was like the first few minutes, I was like, fucking finally. It took like a year and a half since I started. Exactly. And so after 5 minutes, I was like, yeah, whatever. Life goes on, I guess.
Never forget the 20th of June, 2022. It was the day that Striker was verified and Nikodos was not. It's a massive day, and we'll never forget this. It's going to go down in HLTV history. Snappy, mate,
hello.
You're a special guest of the night, and you're not getting anywhere near as much praise as that. The in-game leader of ENCE is joining us fresh off the plane. How was the travel day, mate?
It could have been better. 2-hour delay, but it was a direct flight, so it could also have been worse, I guess.
Well, we really appreciate you joining us straight after the event in Lisbon. And we're going to get stuck into Lisbon and all that good stuff coming on forward. But I don't know how often you're tuning in, Snappy, but we have a big fan of the show. One of the favorite fans of HLTV Confirmed. His name is B_Tannen. He loves the show. He loves tuning in. And he loves it. So I just wanted to put in the chat for everybody at home his YouTube channel. He's got some smokes on there for Dust to 128 tick. He's almost got 10,000 viewers, guys. So maybe check that YouTube video out. show B-Tannen some love. Get him up to 10K views on that video here. Now, I want to get into the show because I got a lot of questions I want to be asking Snappi here. So, Lucas, roll the bumper and let's get into it. All right, we're going to get stuck into the hot seat with Snappi here. Now, we want to go back to the start of the year, early 2022, coming out of the tail end of 2021. You guys ended 2021 with the last place placing at IEM Winter with a loss to Fnatic. Then the first week of 2022, you guys were ranked 14th in the world. You removed Doto not long after, and then you brought in Maden. So that's kind of where I want to start with where the team was at the start of the year. Did you guys know early on in like late 2021, early 2022 that you were going to make this roster change with Doto, or was there a lot of conversations in that off period around Christmas and all that shit?
Yeah, I think it was kind of decided probably back then. Well, sometime after IEM Winter, not straight after. IEM Winter, we also didn't play with me the full event because of Corona, obviously. But but I think maybe right after New Year, it was like 100% decided that it was going to happen. I think something like this, and there was some different names we were talking about, and we ended up with Maden, which now I'm obviously mega happy about. But when you bring in a new player that you haven't played with before, there's obviously always some question marks about how he will function in the team. But we tried to do our best scouting work and trying to get some reports on how he was in the server and outside the server, and I'm very happy we ended up with him.
Did that one match he played for you guys play a role in that with the other teammates singing his praises?
I don't think it was maybe so much that, but obviously at the event he was a very nice guy. Like I also met him. He stayed at the event while I was there when I returned, and he seemed to have very good vibes around him. Obviously it's a stand-in situation, so your stand-in is probably going to be a nice guy no matter what, right? So I think that's not how you kind of will judge it. You probably have to give it a bit more time, but it turns out he was actually just a overall nice guy in the long term also.
I wanted to ask about something, right? You mentioned it before that you had other people in your mind, and obviously, the whole kind of storyline around the change was that you're bringing in another aggressive player. Already have a lot of aggressive pieces. How is it going to work? So, was it always going to be somebody like that? Because Neofrag is somebody who even said it like publicly that he was approached, or at least that there was a chance that he could be joining. So, another aggressive guy, he likes to make plays and stuff like that. Was it always going to be somebody like that?
Yeah, like I can probably just mention who it was. Like the different names was Farven, Neofrag, Maden, and then we also had our eyes on Fasher. Those were the four names.
Okay.
And we would pick one of them, and all of them can be aggressive or are aggressive. And we felt like we needed one guy who, alongside me, would take map control and could be aggressive in that role. And the CT roles we would kind of figure out after. Like I think when we started the team, Maden had a lot different roles than he does now. But then we found out that it would probably be better to transition him into some other CT roles that he didn't play before, but he actually wanted to play. Like for example, he started out playing Aeon Vertigo, but then he preferred to actually be like the third guy there. But yeah, those were the names that like were in the discussion, and yeah, some of them were not possible. For example, with Neofrag, Sinners just denied him to go, so that was not a possibility. And Farvin went to big, and yeah, but like we didn't really. I'm not really sure if we had a exact priority list, but I'm just happy we ended up getting Maden in the end, because we kind of approached like different prospects, because we knew that probably not all of them would be possible anyway. So we would have to kind of find out who could also go to us, right?
Interesting thing with all those names that you listed is out of all of them, Madden was the one with the most experience, right? Like at closest to the level in which I guess you guys are playing at now, right? Because like, yeah, we know Fave and we know those names, but Madden would have, I guess on a list probably been more towards the top for I guess most people if they knew who you guys were looking at with that right there. So does having him be more of an experienced member contribute to the team? Because you look at Diha, you look at Hades, you look at these names that you have alongside of you here. It's not like any of them are crazy experienced until this ENCE roster anyway. Like everybody's kind of got their best experience or their highest placings in this ENCE team. So did Maden bring more experience than some of the other guys, or maybe a bit more tenure, a bit more of a louder voice? Like what did he bring to the team initially?
I mean, he's definitely the guy who's the most vocal, apart from me, in game. Like he makes way more plan than any of the other players, so that actually helps me. But that was actually not the thing we were looking for at the start. We obviously wanted a guy who had good communication, but that was not the key thing. We just wanted an aggressive rifler who could take map control. That was like the main thing. On T side, we felt like we had problems in the fact that we had too many players who wanted to play the lurky similar roles, like to both like Dusha and Spinks are both lurking in this team, and also Doto would probably also be best in that role. So we felt like we needed someone alongside me who could just create a lot of chaos, go in and just don't care about whether they die or not. And well, we needed someone who had to trade me. Like so when we do A execute on Mirage or whatever, it could be a B execute on those two. Like I'm running first, and we needed a guy who was the second guy, and that's why we felt like all of those players kind of fit that bill.
Cool. All right. Yeah. All right. So I guess if we fast forward a little bit, we can look at the rise of events this year, because that's what it's been, right? You started the year, as I mentioned, ranked 14th in the world. Obviously, changed player. You guys dropped down a little bit, but up until today, like up until an hour ago, you guys were the second best team in the world, right? So it's been quite the rise. You guys had obviously the Pro League final, and then you've had a bunch of results as well on top of that. You had Dallas with the stand-in of Snax there. You had the major result, but it's kind of been this like ENCE is just here and nobody can question it. You've got Spinks constantly putting in these massive performances, the team playing really solid, aggressive, in your face Counter-Strike, but you've got different gears. Like, did this happen a lot quicker than you're expecting with the addition of Maden for you guys to start climbing like that?
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, we knew that we were eventually going to be a good team, but we probably expected it to go a little bit slower. We were even close to doing good at Katowice. I think we got through the play-in stage, and then we lost 16-14 on to NAVI in the third map. So it wasn't like it was a mega bad performance, but we only had like a week or two at that point because we got Maden kind of late because well, there was some contract stuff and everything had to get sorted, so we didn't get cracking before like probably early February, late January, I think, with the new team. But yeah, it definitely happened faster than expected. At Pro League already, we were in the group of death, and we got 4 wins and had 1 loss, and then we later did really good in the playoff stage. And despite the fact that the playoff stage maybe were a bit easy, some would say, because we definitely didn't have the hardest bracket. I think we definitely had the hardest groups to make up for the fact that we got an easier bracket, right? But yeah, I think Madden just gave a lot of things that we maybe didn't think about. Like, as I said, we needed the guy to fill the role that I just talked about, and he did that perfectly. But he also added a lot of mood and a lot of well, no respect to the opponent, kinda. Like he's just funny because uh, well, he will kill this bot and that bot, and he don't care who they are.
Yeah,
So
he definitely yells back, right? I think we've caught that
yeah,
a couple of times. He's more than happy to throw the words back across.
yeah, and he's just not scared. He will play the same way no matter who he's playing against. And I think that kind of fearlessness kind of also maybe transitioned into other people. And I also think the way he plays has made a guy like Spinks better, because now that it allows Spinks to be kind of more comfortable in his roles. And I think the fact that me and Madden will always go in first if possible, that also allows Spinks to kind of be more comfortable in the role he prefers. And then Dusha can kind of be like our aggressive lurk that just kind of does what he wants, right?
Yeah, I mean that we've seen that for sure in terms
Yeah.
of Spinks, especially because I mean we always saw him as a good player, obviously, but like the level that he's hit this year is just a new level for him for sure. Like we haven't really up to this point we didn't see him consistently, being basically like looking like a top 10 player. Do you
Yeah.
expect him to kind of be unlocked this fast?
Well, I think he was very good before. Like, obviously, I brought him into contact back then when nobody knew him, and then I afterwards got him with me into ENCE, so I always knew the potential was there. But well, he maybe developed a bit faster than I expected. I also think the key thing is that up until now, well, hopefully also going forward, he's a very humble guy that just tries to suck in all the knowledge he can get. And I think that's a big factor to why he developed so fast, because he's not too arrogant to listen to an old guy like me and a guy like Saw, our coach, and to try to copy from a lot of other players, right? Yeah, he probably developed a bit faster, and that credit has to go to him. So yeah, he did a good job, just working hard, I think.
There's another name during all of this that kind of is in the headlines for not the same reasons as Spinks, right? But it's Hades. Like sometimes he gets a rougher go of things, right? And I think we've all seen him when he pops off and he's doing awesome. But like as an AWPer, sometimes he's not always there, right? Do you think that the critique that Hades might get from some of the pundits is warranted, or maybe for him it's just a slower adjustment, or what do you think about Hades? Because I think when he's on, like he's one of the most impactful players on the team, like, and he's looked great in the clutch too.
Yeah, I mean, Hades is a lovely guy. I think his biggest demon is sometimes himself, that he can be a bit too harsh on himself when he plays bad. And I think whenever I think he improved a lot this year, getting better and better, like not punishing himself that he's maybe not having the best game, and he's been coming back in a lot of games. I remember FaZe at Dallas. He had a very rough first map and he was not happy, and then in the next map on Ancient, he came out and had like a 25-5 score on CT Ancient, and he just destroyed FaZe. And I think if you go 1 year back, I don't think he could have done that. So I think he's developed a lot in that sense, and I think he is a very, very skilled AWPer, and we trust a lot in him, which is obviously why we have him. Like I think it's more of a surprise that he's like the fact that a guy like, for example, Spinks have had no problem instantly on land just performing is more uncommon. That not experienced guy getting into tier 1 and rising as quick as Hades and the team in general has done. It would be more unexpected if we would have no issues in regards to consistency. But I think Hades has shown enough time now that his skill level is there, and I think he had a very good performance at Dallas. He was definitely one of the best players at Dallas up until the final, where we all dropped off because we obviously got smashed 3-0 by Cloud9. But I think he showed a lot of what he could do at Dallas, and I think we had a pretty hard bracket actually. I think we played all the teams that were there with the full lineups, right? We played G2, we played FaZe, we played FURIA, we played Cloud9, we played Mouse. All of them were there with like in full force. And I think Hades showed that he's definitely able to play up against all of them. I think he had maybe 120 rating or something going into the final, and he was definitely a big reason why we ended up there. And I also think he played pretty good here at Blast. I think the entire team underperformed, but I think Oleg actually played pretty good, all things considered. But we as a team were just not there this tournament, and I think some of it comes down to the fact that we haven't actually been pracking a lot, especially because of this Dallas event. We played with Snax a bit before, so I think maybe we had like 2 or 3 practice days the last month with Spinks, and obviously I think it finally caught up to us that the individual level wasn't maybe where it has been in all of the other tournaments. I think we struggled a lot. Like all of the rounds at this event was like very hard fought. It was like there was just no easy situation. It was always 2-on-2 or 3-on-3 on CT sides, where we usually just get so many rounds where, well, Hades or Spinks or Maden will just destroy them, and then it's 4-on-1 and easy CT round.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because of like the way that like I look at Counter-Strike right now, it's like healing, right? Like we're getting back to events that aren't just ESL or Blast on LAN or the PGO majors, right? Like having Pinnacle Cup, having this, having that, couple of extra events around, right? You guys did a lot of events seemingly back to back, right? There was a week between the major and then Dallas, right? But then it was traveling to the States, and then pretty quickly after that, you just had the Blast Premier Spring Finals, which we're going to get into very shortly. But do you think it's a symptom of just so many events back to back and on LAN, and how much that takes from you, and long travel days like we were discussing with you before? Like, do you think that those things all kind of start to add up, and maybe something that the team will have to deal with, I guess, after the break, and pick or choose more events now that you're an established top team?
Yeah, I think we've been playing a lot of Counter-Strike this year, a lot, and especially due to the fact that we got to the end of the tournament in every single tournament. We've been going home on the last. Normally, if you go out early in a tournament, you'll travel home earlier and you'll start practicing earlier, and you'll be more fresh for the next tournament. But I think maybe there is some fatigue to it at this point. You also see FaZe have a big drop off, and there could be a case where it's the other teams are coming in hot with 100 hours. They've been grinding 2 weeks of full practice and then you come in kind of well, you came home from Dallas, and you have 1 or 2 off days, then you have 2 practice, and then you travel again, and like I think there's been a lot of well these situations, and I think we could have done better this event, but I guess there is a case to be made that fatigue is also a thing that made us play a little bit worse. I definitely think we could have played better if we had better prac and more hours coming into the tournament.
So how much do you think it helped you kind of evolve as a team from the start though? Because obviously, like very early on, like in that first month, especially, I think together you played quite a lot. You even played that like in maybe the first couple of months, like the first like portion of the qualifying stage to the blast. And obviously, it's a lot of maps that you play together in officials and stuff like that. Do you think like early on at least it helps kind of get up to speed?
Yeah, I think it was good getting a lot of official matches in early on, actually, because I think we had some issues we found. Obviously, when we brought in Maden, we would have to switch some roles around. And we found some issues where we had an idea of how it was going to work, but then that idea didn't really work out. So we had to make some adjustments to some maps where it was pretty easy to spot that some players were uncomfortable, or I moved a lot of positions initially when Maden came in, and I just got some of the positions I simply weren't good at, and it was better to move it around so that I could control a little bit more on the other side of the maps, and then instead we could have a more skilled player like Ancient as an example. We moved me to A, but then we lost a lot of the calling around B as a CT, and what we got on A was just a much weaker player than Daisha, so I couldn't kill like 2 or 3 guys. I would maybe kill one guy, maybe 2 if it was a good day, but Daisha will just kill 2 or 3 guys. So it's better to have him there.
That's curious. I want to jump forward into this the major stage debut for you boys, right? Because that's obviously a huge deal. First of all, it's a major. You're on the stage. You're in this big environment. There's a crowd. For those people who are uninitiated, you guys made it to the playoffs. You played Copenhagen Flames, and then you went out to NAVI in the semifinals in 2 maps. For you guys, like I think for a lot of people, this is where nobody could question ENCE anymore, right? Maybe before people would be like, okay, yeah, Pro League, it was in a studio. It wasn't like, but then, you make it to the major, you're on the stage, you win a big series. There's a lot of experience for everybody. You guys, like, obviously you want to go and you want to win the whole thing, but for where the team's at, earlier you were saying that, you feel that maybe you've progressed a little bit quicker than you should. Like, this kind of experience here, the major, was this ahead of expectations as well? Or is this right on track for where Snappi wants the team to be right now?
I mean, after EPL, when we had such a good result, I think also the expectations grew.
Okay.
We definitely expected ourselves, like we came out and we said we will take it 1 match at a time and we'll see where we land and all this. But I knew that deep inside we wanted top 8. Like there was no question about that. We thought we should be top 8 in that tournament, I think, looking back, and we got to top 4, so the goal was reached. But then again, it doesn't really matter. Like in a tournament like this, there's 23 losers and 1 winner. So when you then go out in top 4, you're still fucking mad because you played bad, and we didn't really have a chance in that match. Now we were much better, and I'm not even sure it was like people are obviously putting it a lot on the stage experience, and obviously the entire arena was with Navi. But at the end of the day, I don't think it was, maybe, but I don't think it affected that much. I think we just literally had a very bad day, and that can happen sometimes, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was also that Navi was kind of peaking up until that final. Essentially, it felt like they were just unstoppable, like even from series before. So I think you just met a really, really strong Navi.
Yeah, we obviously like Navi also played good, but I also think we definitely hit our level, which was a bit annoying afterwards because you felt like we did so good up until here, and now we went out on not such a good note. But obviously, when you meet a team like Navi, you also have to bring your A game, or they're gonna make you look like a fool. I think Navi is the best team in the world if they hit their A level. I just don't think anyone can beat them. No, nobody, I think.
There's actually one thing that I kind of wanted to ask tied to that, because when I was going through some stats for you guys for the past few tournaments, and especially like after Katowice, where you had the debut, and obviously you don't want to look too much into that and who you lost to, because obviously it was still close and it was still your first tournament. But I noticed that you don't really have bad matchups. Like there's not one team that you keep losing to. Obviously, you play a lot of different teams. Like you've just played a lot of different tournaments, faced a lot of different competition, but you have faced certain teams quite a lot. FaZe is probably the best example of that because you've played in something like 5 times or whatever it is now.
Uh,
And obviously your record against them even is quite good. So what do you think this comes down to, that you don't really have a matchup that is bad? Because the only team that I think you lost more than once to is Navi, and that's including Katowice.
yeah, I think one of the key things is that our map pool is pretty decent. I think we have a few maps we can pick into with such high win rates that we'll usually win our map pick. I think, well, I think if you look at the percentages, I think Overpass is going to be a little bit down. So that's definitely something we're going to work on for the next event. But I think that's mainly due to the fact that we can't win CT pistols on that map at the moment. Like, we literally never get a good start. We're down 0-8 against Vitality, 0-7 against Heroic, like on CT side, and obviously on a map like Overpass, that is so CT sided. You need to get going a bit more than that. But I think just we are hard to play against because it's hard to punish us in the map pool. I think that's the key thing. People tried to do it first on Dust 2, first on Overpass, and we got a lot of good wins on Overpass. Then people tried to punish us on Dust 2. That didn't work out really, and then people started trying to punish us on Vertigo, and now we're really good on Vertigo. So I think we've improved the maps that people tried to punish us on, and I don't think at any point that people could punish us on Mirage, Nuke, and Ancient. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think like another one of the interesting things, you guys, not just like that deep map pool, but it's sometimes the style that you come into games with. And I feel like I remember watching, it was like a Vertigo game that you guys played. And I know that you guys put a lot of work into Vertigo. I forget who it was against, but you gave them no options. Like I think you started CT side and then you flick over to the T side and you start doing those two like super quick left and right side gen smokes. And you have the two flashes coming through the from T spawn to the B guy picking gets blind. And you did that for like the first 4 rounds, and you conditioned it, and they had nothing they could do. They had to play heavy B, and then you just fucking faked it and went A. And it's like, well, the game's over. Like that type of style of calling and being aggressive is. I obviously don't want you to give away your full playbook here, but it's quite a signature to you, right? Do you consider the team to be like the best, like the A game for ENCE is if you can win with momentum?
I think we've gotten a lot better at playing slow. Actually, obviously we do still play fast, but I also obviously, because of the comment I made in one of the HLTV interviews that if rushing doesn't work, rush faster. People thinks that all we do, but I do think we actually have very much of a slow game to us as well. Obviously, we might not play as slow as teams like Cloud9, but we still have very slow rounds from time to time also. So I think we're pretty good at mixing it up. But obviously, if we see a weakness on a map that we can explore by just rushing him, we'll do it. Because when you look into other teams, they sometimes have some smaller gaps somewhere, and if that's a player playing alone, we will rush him because he's 5 against 1.
Yeah. The math adds
Makes
up.
sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect
it's,
logical to me.
it's basically when you break it down like that. Do you think, like, I know that you guys had to play Dallas with a stand-in, right? And that's unfortunate. And it being Spinks is even more unfortunate, right? One of the biggest workhorses in the team number-wise. But do you think, like, just in terms of the experience again to get back on another stage so quickly and reinforce a good result even with a stand, do you think that like that was a must for you guys? Like, if you went there and bombed out, do you think that would have had like negative ramifications?
Nah, I think actually, no matter, I think we could only win at that tournament, but I'm actually really happy about the result in particular because I think it like this Spinks is obviously one of our best players, but I think like because he had done so good numbers wise, he got a lot of the credit, and I think it was nice for some of the other players to also gain some recognition, so people didn't think it was only the the Spinks show, right? Um, and I think it was good that Maden, Hades, and and Dusha proved that they are also really skilled players. It's not only about one player, because I don't think you'll make a final of an event like that with the teams we met. We didn't have an easy road, as I said. Without those players also being mega skilled. So I think it was good for the other players in the team to gain some recognition. And then I was very happy to have Snax and give him maybe a way back into tier 1. I definitely think he can still play. And that's like, I'm literally not lying about that. I think he was, I was so positively surprised by Snax, both his mental game, but also just he was just like a Swiss Army knife in the sense that he just knew all nades. He had very like he was very versatile, and I think a lot of teams could use him, and especially like the younger teams who might need a veteran, because like you just have fun around him, so you kind of forget you're about to play a mega important match because he's just a fun guy to be around. So I think his calmness in that sense could help some of the teams that lack that experienced player.
Why did you even go with him in the
Yeah.
first place? I think it kind of came out of left field for me. I was like, what who the fuck thought of Snax?
It was Dusha and Hades. They play FaZe with him, so
Oh, fair enough.
they said he's still mega
They
good.
vouch.
So yeah, there was some other names. So well, I'm not gonna get into that, but obviously there was some contracts and stuff like this, and we had to kind of probably get a free agent, and Snax was available, and they said Snax is still mega good. And at first, me and Saul was like, "Are you sure about this?" And then, but they convinced us. Then we brought Snax, and he definitely proved that he still got it.
Yeah,
You've
some big games.
opened the door to the international realms for Snax here as well, in a way, right? So this will be, well, to show that he can be successful in that environment. I think that's quite a key. But you look at, we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the show, but you look at the amount of free agents who are skilled right now who could go in international teams. Yeah, well, that's all right. We're talking about him now, but it's like we made a list, Snappi, that we want to talk about later, where we could make teams or which teams could use them. But like Snax is one of these ones. It's like, fuck, where are you going to put him? He's another one of these names. There's so many of those names at the moment that could go somewhere who are skilled enough to do so, but it's just not many spots at the moment, which is a little bit awkward.
Then you make room.
Yeah, true. Yeah, fair enough. I can't really argue with that, can I? You know, one who you just brought up and we haven't actually spoke about a lot, and I know that you guys like to give him a lot of praise in interviews and stuff, is Saw, right? Like this is somebody who look, the coaches, obviously, most of them go under the radar, right? Unless you win a major, unless you're Blade and you got the big dick and all you do is post a picture of yourself on Instagram every time you win a trophy because you're that baller, right? Most of the coaches go like a little bit understated or whatever. So like, I guess this would be a good opportunity to give that platform, because Sora is like the last remnants of the finished team now, right? Like he's what was left over, him and Natu, right? They're holding the fort down for you boys. But like, what is it about Saw? Because we kind of have this new generation of coaches now. Saw's one of them. DJL, there's a bunch who have kind of come on through to the tier one and they're thriving. Like, what is it that this guy has that he brings that maybe coaches of the past for you haven't had?
I think he brings well, he's been an in-game leader himself, so he knows the situation I'm in when it can sometimes be a bit hard, and obviously I won't always make the right call. And I think he kind of first of all understand that part, and then also he understands that I kind of need to call my style in order to call it good. And then what he will do, instead of just giving me you should call this and you should call that, then he will more kind of challenge me. He will bring some new ideas and say we can do this strat and this strat, and he'll try to push me to be a better in-game leader. And I think he helps me also a lot because he's very smart strategically to kind of, when there is maybe a gap that maybe I've been blind to, then he will say there's this problem here, it's too readable, so we should make this version also, and then it can work. And then we'll bounce ideas off each other like this, and he helps me a lot. I think he made me a much better like, I think as an in-game leader I definitely developed the most while being with Saw, because he's giving me a lot of feedback, and well, he's just a very smart guy, and I think he's just very good at adding rounds that kind of fit me, and if they doesn't, then try to kind of, well, then we change them together so that I also feel comfortable with it. I think he's just well, he is by far the best coach I ever had. Like, I'm so happy I'm with him, to be honest.
But it's like you guys have found like a really nice recipe, because somebody on Twitter, right? And we're gonna have some questions later for you as well here. But somebody on Twitter, his name is Ivan the Truth, and he said, "How the hell did that contact roster?" He said, didn't work. I assume he meant, yeah. Anyway, but he was questioning why contact didn't work, right? And you had a couple of elements in there. Obviously, you had Spinks, you had Alton on the other, you had Esperanto, and you had Rigon, and you had Neil coaching, right? But you look at these names, like you back then, you compare them to the names you have on your team now. A lot of them are probably comparable, right? Like names that aren't household names, but actually have a lot of ability and skill. Like, I think we spoke to you about contact a while ago, right? So maybe, I guess, you, now that you have this ENCE roster, you can maybe look and reflect on contact and kind of weigh up the differences a little bit. Is it just the players you have right now, they gel better together, it's a better mesh, or is there's something that you're doing differently, or maybe it's everything?
I think, to be honest, that contact team was dead when we joined it. And
I think I remember you telling me this. Yes.
Nobody was motivated. And it's not on one player. I just think it was better for everyone to split apart, because you could feel it already when you joined that people were not like, I think they had been playing together for a long time and it hadn't been working, and I think there was some frustration that built up to the point where it was not fixable anymore, and that meant that players didn't grind like they should, players didn't sacrifice for each other like they should, and I think it was just best for all parties to kind of part ways. I don't think, as I said, it was one guy's fault. I think it was a combination of a lot of things, and also a lot of things that happened way before me and Spinks arrived to the team. But yeah, I think all of the players can be good, and I think it's, for most of them, it was mostly about motivation. There was just a project that had ran its course, I guess, and I think there's not much more to say about it, really.
All right. Well, let's jump into something we have a lot to say about. Right. Let's get into the Lisbon discussion, right? Because we've got a lot of topics here tonight that we want to go into. Now, Lisbon run for you guys. I guess were you disappointed with the result? I feel like that's a stupid question to ask.
Yeah, of course we were. We were aiming for the title, but I guess we didn't factor in the fact that fatigue and not optimal prac was there. And I think this is one of the first events where there was like a bit of frustration. You could feel like, things, as I said, the kills didn't come as easy, and that was across the board. I think we individually didn't arrive at the tournament, and that was the key thing. So yeah, we are disappointed because we felt like it was a tournament that was there to grab, but I think we just weren't good enough this time, and that's really it. All of the matches were hard, even the big one that we won. We had to fight hard to win that. And we had chances, like for example in the nuke match against Vitality, we should have won, but I made a miscall, and I said there was no time, and then there was 0.01 second, and Cyber got the bomb down, and we lost that round and went into overtime. We lost 19-17, so part of that map is on me. But even then, like, there was 30 other rounds that we could have done differently in. But obviously, this was a key one where I made a mistake, and I felt really bad about that afterwards. But who knows? Again, if we would have won the third map, you never know.
Yeah. Did you go into it kind of, obviously I set up this whole storyline because I put up the article saying that this is kind of your chance to end the trophy drought, right? Because of all the teams coming in with standards or maybe new players with like Navi and stuff like that. So did you see it the same way, that at least, the final and maybe taking on FaZe and seeing if you can beat them in a big series this time?
Yeah, I think we felt like we were ready to win. Now with Spinks back, we could use our entire playbook, and we felt like it was there for the taking. And we had good experiences against FaZe in every other match, but that EPL final, and that was the first big final. I think there was a lot of nerfs in that match in particular. So yeah, I think we were aiming for the trophy, but I guess it was just not our time.
Do you feel like this could be also a mentality thing as well? Because obviously, you can be going from a team that always goes on deep runs and knowing how to win is a difference. There's just that next level you have to take. So do you feel like you still kind of need to work on that mindset a little bit, or just have to have that big series or that big win to kind of figure it out?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I think the key thing we need to be very careful about now is that now we've risen to the top in the rankings, and I think the most key thing for us now, and the biggest danger for a team like us now, is if people get arrogant and people think they're better than they are. Because if that happens, then it's over. Then we'll just fall down as fast as we got up. So I think I hope that all the teammates I have, and myself included, stay very humble, because we shouldn't see ourselves as better. We should in the server, but we have Maden there, so that's no problem. He will make sure that we feel like the other team are noobs. But with that said, like, I think we need to still work hard, and we still need to do what we did before, and not try to think it's about one player or any of this stuff, and just be on the course we've been on. Because I think, as I said, like, the scary thing is if we get into a match and then, let's say, we lose to number 15 in the world, and then we get mega mad because we're supposed to beat these guys. But this will eventually happen. This happens to any team. Even the best teams sometimes lose to lesser teams. It just happens because it's CS. It can be random. You lose a pistol, you lose the first weapon round on both halves, and then the map is almost over, right? So it will happen, and I think it's about how we handle now, being the favorites, and I guess stay humble is the key word.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into maybe a bit broader with the event, because we may as well stay put on Lisbon and talk a bit about the other teams and what went down and some of the results that took place in that event. So obviously we had Navi winning, right? So that's good to see the team returning to trophy form. Simple with 20 MVP medals now, so that's the record. So if there's any questions about, obviously you could use a couple more majors, but if there's any question about the GOAT status, I think he's doing more to continue to add to that conversation. And obviously, they did it with SDY and Blade with the biggest smile on his face I think we've ever seen. Striker, wasn't that? Well, I don't think he wasn't that happy when he won the major. What was going on there?
Yeah, I'm not. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Like you, obviously, people will read into that, and you never know how much of that is actually a factor. Whether the whole stuff with Boomich was playing on players' minds or even his mind and stuff like that. But you just can't know. But clearly, like they were enjoying themselves when they were playing with this roster.
Individually, they were on form, which I think was the scary
Yeah.
part. Snappy, you said just before, right? You think if they're on their A game, then they're the best. No one can touch them, right? So just for people playing at home, that means phase two, right? Like, so you think that like which version of Navi did we get? Was this like them all on form, on point, or is this like, and now are we getting Navi 2.0? Is this going to be scarier than the team with Boomich? What do you make of their win here?
I mean, I think as long as they have the trio, or I guess 4 guys with Perfecto, like they will be fine. And Blade is an amazing coach. Like he has so much respect from the players, so I can only assume that he's doing a wonderful work in the team. I think they just have so much skill that if they hit their A game, it doesn't matter who plays them. Almost like we saw that when they were very good, like last year. I think it was much more like FaZe has been the best team this year by far, and they've earned everything they've gotten, and they definitely deserve the number 1 spot and all the trophies they got. But I do think when Navi did it, it was way more. They just
Convincing.
destroyed teams. They just destroyed teams half the time. Like it wasn't even close.
Hmm.
And I think that like I still think they have the potential to return to that form, because as long as simple electronic bit Perfecto is there and Blade is there, it's almost like I think they can put in any fifth almost, and it will be a good team. It will be a very good team.
Yeah, I mean, I found it curious the way that they dealt with the change. Obviously, we
Yeah.
were kind of questioning about like what was going to happen, right? Like, obviously, Sam Dayang is not a player who was going to replace Boomich in his roles, and we knew that was never going to happen, right? Like, he was never going to be the aggressive guy who would create space and whatever. And so the solution is really curious, and I think it makes perfect sense, right? Like, if you're going to put Electronic as the in-game leader, and he's always been kind of an aggressive player. Obviously, he's had different roles, and it's not always the same on every map, but he always likes to go for plays and stuff like that. And so to put him in the Boomich roles now and have Samdang, be on the side and maybe not, I don't want to say matter too much, but obviously he's not going to be in all of the fucking risky positions, where he has to make all the right decisions and stuff like that. So I think that is something that also people have to keep in mind, that you can't really compare, Samdang and Boomich. It's just not the comparison. You can't even compare Electronic and Boomich. You just put completely different players in different spots, and so the comparison has to be a little bit combined,
Yes,
and you have
you
to
can
look
compare
at
the team though, right? You can
yeah
compare what we saw with one version and what we saw with the other, right? I don't think there's any question that around the major there was obviously a lot of drama around Navi, right? We all know that
yeah
the war's going on. We know that there's this bullshit. Everyone's seen the Boomage stuff that's come out on social media. We know that caused tensions within the team, right? There were rumors around the major that it was actually Electronic who was going to be the one going, but then it ended up being Boomage, and we all saw it blow up. But like, Launders made a tweet being like, like comparing the two, you don't have to shit on Boomich, which is fine. I agree. We don't have to shit on Boomich. But to be truthful, there is no question that Electronic is a better player than Boomich. I don't think there would
yeah
be anybody in the world that you could find who would make that argument. And then if it turns out that Boomich wasn't even that good of an in-game leader, that was the structure, all the work done from Blade, right? And then Electronic can come in, and everyone's saying Electronic's a mega smart player. That's all we're hearing right now is that you compare that and you go, well, maybe Boomich was actually the problem of the best team before, right? And I know that seems like a crazy thing to say, but like, and I know that they were winning and they won the major and all this kind of shit, but you plug SDY in, they have a week worth of practice. I know that we're still in like the post major hangover at the moment, and these events all mean different to different teams, but like SDY now, make sure you don't take this out of context, everybody at home. When we say that he didn't have to do anything, it's like we don't mean he didn't have to, like he obviously had to get kills, he had to have impact, he had to be good in certain situations. But when you have Bit, Simple, and then you've obviously got Electronic, why did we even need Boomich going aggressive before anyway? Like those 3 names right there, like they didn't really need that martyr. It didn't feel like they had so much skill. And I was looking at the numbers. I was just comparing 2 events right now. Obviously, this is hard. There's different matches. There's all this shit. So it's quite broad. But I was having a look at like the one of the player stat things that you guys have on HLTV under its opening kills, right? And just this is combined. I looked at the attempts. And Boomich at the major was involved in 22.5% of the openings for his team. Right
But
now,
is that on T or CT?
this is overall,
combined,
right? Like, yeah, but like
should always look at T, I think.
I broke it down a little bit, right? But it's regardless, like Boomich is much higher than what SDY's is. And we know that they're playing different roles. But look at it this way. Don't look at it in terms of him finding the opening kills or not finding the opening like this is just him being potentially an opening death, right? He's 22.5% of the time potentially an opening death. SDY at this event was only 11.5%. So if that one player is just not dying and it's simple bit or electronic getting the entry kill or getting the space, I would take that trade every day of the week. Like, and then SDY is alive to do something more mid to late round. And he looked really handy in those situations, getting them like a double kill when they needed it. Or if they came to his bomb site late, he did what he had to do, right? Like, it didn't blow anybody away, but nobody has to blow anybody away when that's the rest of it. You just need to don't complain, don't cause any fucking issues, and do your job. Like,
Yeah.
And Simple, what didn't Simple say? He hopes that SDY is playing in Cologne.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think that is just the plan because the the roster lock is tomorrow, and so like, what are NAVI going to do? Are they going to suddenly find somebody else to slot in? It feels like they just didn't want to say it outright. And I was obviously, they won the event with SDY. Like, if there are any issues, they're not apparent enough for them to lose. So like, clearly, like, they're going to be okay with him staying on for a bit longer and them seeing if this is the permanent player that they want to keep. But obviously, so far, like the way that they've solved it this quickly is kind of impressive to me. Obviously, yeah, what you're saying is clearly there are teams who are just not at their 100%. Like we saw FaZe not really at their 100%. ENCE, I mean, pretty obviously as well. So NAVI kind of took advantage of that, but obviously, like, they are still like their ceiling is just incredibly high. Like you saw it in the FaZe series, I think, especially. Like it's just unreal that you can do this to a team that just won the major and is basically the world's best team, and then maybe had an off event last time, but they clearly still have really, really skilled individuals, And so for Navi to be able to leave the best team in the world with 7 rounds, is fucking insane to me. Like, how can you do that to a team?
That was crazy. Like that. But that's the thing, right? But you watch it, and that's when like Simple's hitting all the shots, right? Like, and then oh, for fuck's sake, and then Bit's aim is on point, and then that's when they go back to being scary. But like, I don't know, and Snappi, I'm sure you can help with this, but I don't like. It doesn't feel like we're just going to return to like a Navi dominant situation again. It feels like we're going to return to, or we're going to enter like a period of Counter-Strike where the trophy's open. Like, there's a lot of names now who we could like. Okay, we go into Cologne, FaZe of the world #1, sure, but like, I don't know if I'm saying FaZe are going to win the event. I don't know who's going to win the event, right? Like, there's still Roobet Cup to come, but it's like, it's felt like it's been some time since we've had an event where we go and we're not like, there's not just 2 names we can pick. I feel like we could pick 5 or 6 names. Like, it feels like there's a lot of teams who could have those type of runs at the moment. Do you feel the same way about the scene at the moment?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I still think FaZe and NAVI is probably the biggest favorites, but I think after that there's a lot of teams. I think us and Cloud9 could potentially go far, and then after that there's like 5 or 6 teams who's around like always probably in the same level that they could surprise and do really good. Like I think Heroic, G2, FURIA, Vitality, NIP, like all of these teams are kind of coming in right behind, and yeah, I think there's a lot of teams that can run away with a trophy. I think there's literally 10 teams that could potentially win tournaments almost. But I would still say that FaZe and NAVI is obviously the biggest favorites, of course, coming into whatever tournament we enter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, regarding the opening stats, I've just been kind of like browsing quickly, just to touch on what you were talking about. Like with the Boomage had like 29% on T side, and it was about like 0.8 rating. It was mostly like maybe like 33%.
Yeah, but I think
or
that
40%
that is always so misunderstood. I think like that's why I asked if it was T or CT, because like I've watched some of the demos, and for example, then they just sent Boomage in a nuke execute while all of the rest play kind of aim map behind him, so he's more of a distraction. And obviously, when you do stuff like that, you won't have a high entry success. And it's the same if you look at us. Like when we do a Mirage exec, I will run in, and I swear I will die 80% of the time without even seeing a guy. But you have to have a guy running in like that in order to create the space for the guys coming behind. So I always feel like that opening stat is mega flawed in the sense that how we view it, and we shouldn't really view it. Well, we
Need some
shouldn't view it
context
without
behind it.
context at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of these entry deaths on T side that you literally just have to have someone do, and it has to be a guy who is unselfish enough to just take the death and not cry about it.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just going to compare it to Electronic and his stats just to kind of put things into perspective. T side's actually not that different. It's pretty much it's like 0.98 for Electronic at the last event, but it's the CT side where the difference is. He had like massive openings on CT side all the
Yeah,
time.
and obviously
And you
that's
could
always
tell.
the best. Like it's mega easy to entry on CT compared to T. Mega
Yeah.
easy because people have to go into your aim eventually. And if you play some of the high volatility, like if you play Connect on Mirage, or if you play like Dust 2 rotation, or if you play Orb, like you literally have so much higher chance of getting an entry than your A guy on Ancient, or your B guy on Mirage, or your long guy on Dust 2. They'll get action maybe once if they're lucky, and like entry action, and then they need to get that kill also, right? Like there's just so much higher, like it's so much easier to get good numbers in terms of opening kill and impact rating when you play those positions. And like, so I think it's, you really have to view these numbers in context to actually understand anything of what's going on. I think at face value these numbers are pretty much useless.
I'm just thinking about Boomich at Sandbag getting naded round after round. You know, like that's the stuff that comes into my mind where I'm worried about Boomich giving away first deaths. Whereas like I don't feel the same situation happening with Electro. Eventually will, right? Because eventually you fall into the in-game leader patterns where you have to do the things you're talking about, right? Have to sacrifice yourself for the greater good of the team. It's not always going to work that he can find that space. And he's
Yeah, but it's also due to, like, it also depends. Like Electronic is probably going to be a different type of in-game leader because of his skill, right? But what will happen is then they will just need another player who will go die.
the sacrifice.
Like you can see it in some of these teams where, like for example, at Tapson, he's one of the most skilled in-game leaders, right? So naturally, he's playing a lot of the good roles. But that also means that they have to have a player who, like, one or two players that are very like sacrificial and has to do a lot of the dirty work. And that's just how it is. If you put your in-game leader on all of the good roles on CT and T side, that means that you will have someone else do the dirty work, and they will get a lot of flag for it because their numbers will not look good. And I think that's where it's like, if you look at a guy like Kerrigan, for example, he takes most of the dirty roles himself. And I think in our team it's also a lot me, sometimes Maden, but like then you allow your team to have an extra star player.
Yeah, and it's also that like Navi is just very good at openings in general. Like they just have multiple players who can go for them and are pretty effective at them. Like Bits in aim is just so insane that he will just naturally just win opening duels, you know, and create space that way. And then you don't have as much of a pressure for to have a guy who has to run in front. You can just go for trades. And obviously somebody still has to go first, but it doesn't have to be maybe that aggressive as it would be usually when you're going into a 5v5.
Yeah,
So I
but
think Navi are just way too talented in general to have to maybe fall into the same traps as everybody else, you know.
yeah, maybe, but I still think that was how they used Boombla, because I literally
Yeah.
saw some executes they did where it literally felt like a suicide mission for Boomich, and the rest would play behind him, and it worked because the guys behind him, they would shoot whoever shot at Boomich. But it was some very rough situation he had to run into at times, and I think if they want to keep running some of those strats, someone else will have to do that role that Boomich did, and it almost doesn't matter how skilled you are. At the end of the day,
You're
if you
gonna
run
die.
if you run into some of these situations, because you will not see anyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah, especially like with the silenced M4 and all that kind of bullshit. Now
Yeah,
it's even harder to
especially
relay
with
that
the silence
information.
M4.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to that soon about the update with that, but we still got some more blast stuff to talk about. Now, OG had the 2022 patented stand-in buff that everybody seems to be getting at the moment here, right? They had degster playing in place of Mansu, who was unable to be at the event, but they also had the newer boys out to play, Neofrag, a name that Snappi mentioned earlier in the show, and Fiku, one that we liked the look of earlier in the year in Pro League, right? He looked pretty tidy in terms of the ability he was bringing, and now they're on OG. And one of the things that I thought was just like the amount of individual ability that like Neofrag and Ficus, they had like a lot of ideas of things they wanted to do. And I felt that having like proactive players who knew what type of fights they wanted to take, alongside degster, who was taking like, as he does, a lot of liberties with that AWP. It kind of, those players felt like the style felt a bit better around Nexa, like a bit more sporadic, a bit more fighty, a bit more do this. Like, whereas like when you think about Valde and Nico, when they're on the team, obviously they always like were off in a duo on a bomb site somewhere, a bit more passive doing their thing. And then it came down to Mantu Flames and Nexa to kind of get the lion's share of work done. It feels like there's a lot more tools for OG now. It's hard to say how good they're going to be in the future with a stand-in at the event, right? But I think Mantu's a very good AWPer. I think that he does the job very well. And look, it's hard to compare to degster, right?
I was gonna say, like, it's hard. It's a hard come down to have to go from degster in general. Like, I don't want to put any bad words on Mantu. I think he's actually pretty talented. I think he's good, but he's not degster. Like, let's just put it this way, because degster, I think if he showed anything this event, is just that he can just create space on his own, like whatever he does. He's just very talented at just pushing an angle and just being able to take that first kill. And that's basically, like, if you have an opera that's capable of doing that, like, obviously you're just going to have a lot more space. And he was incredibly consistent at it while being very aggressive and being able to give OG that space, right? And so if you don't have that guy all of a sudden, like, it's going to get much harder for you to have that space and to be that consistent at creating openings and stuff like that. So I think, like, I am curious about this next event that OG are going to play, because that, I think, was not a realistic reflection of what we can expect from OG now.
What did you make of OG, Snappy? Do you think it's down to just this standing factor and they could play looser? Do you think that that's what happens at these type of events? Because we've seen it a couple times this year, right? Like, I know the JKS situation was a little bit different with FaZe, but you guys had Snax stand-in. Feels like every event there's always a stand-in, right? Like, I know NIP had that case, but it's more from the academy team, so it's a little bit different context. But what do you make of this OG run?
Well, I think, to be honest, they covered a bit of how we recruited players, in the sense that I think the main problem before was they had too many passive players. And I think they added two aggressive players, and alongside Flames, that's a really good trio to have to just run into bomb sites. And I think it's good because I think Nexa is like a very unselfish in-game leader on CT. He plays a lot of the harder roles, but on T, he's not a guy who he really don't like to go first, I think. So for him, it's best to have a lot of aggressive players around him, so he can then play the passive roles on CT and T, and he can set up his teammates. And I think they copied the approach by just having a lot of very skilled aggressive riflers like Neofrag, Flames, and Fico, who can go into the side. Then Nexa can be more kind of a setupper. Like, he will try to throw the smokes and the flashbangs for them, and then he will hold the back or whatever, right? And I think that's probably why they have more success, because I think, as I said, the main issue for them before was just too many passive players. There was not enough space being created when they went into site, because they had too many guys who wanted to be the second, third, or fourth guy in. And now it seems more like Neofrag, Flames, and Fico can all just brawl in, and doesn't matter who's first, doesn't matter who's third. I think that helped them a lot. Obviously, I could be wrong, but from the outside looking in, it looked like that was the approach: get some aggressive young players with very, very skilled, able to crack open sites.
Yeah,
a few more tools, a few more weapons to use, a bit more aggression. Looks a bit nicer around next. You get anything else you want? Yeah, straight.
Yeah, I mean, just generally being very loose. Clearly, it kind of like helped them their mentality. I think, who were they playing against it was against Navi, right? The last series that they played in the rematch, when they were I was looking at that dust too, and like the way that they approached that game was just clearly, like, I don't know if it came from Casper or if it or if it was from Nexa, but clearly, like, the direction was just, if you feel like you're going for a play, just go for it, because they were pushing even in, like, if you saw Neofrag push upper dark, like, through a smoke effect, and stuff like that. Like, when they have a 5v4, they threw away that round. They threw away a few rounds just because of this mentality, and so, like, eventually, you're going to have to take things a little bit more seriously, and that's where I think we're going to get a better sense of where OG really are, and obviously, when they have Mantu back, and how that's going to affect things.
Yeah, we have to ask this question though, right? Because degster was in the top 10 highest rated players of the event. Actually, he was 6th, so he was obviously a massive factor for them right there. So there's going to be a bit of a come down for OG, right? Not saying that Mantu isn't a good AWPer at all. It's just Mantu's going to have to do that for them to be as competitive as they were. And Fico and Neofrag are going to have more eyes on them, and the things that they like to do, like, that's going to change. They're going to have to go through that whole learning experience right there.
You almost have to wonder if OG aren't going to go to Spirit and ask, like, I feel like there's
didn't
there's
Overdrive say
definitely
today it's 300K?
300K is not that bad for a player like degster, I have to say.
But we know OG don't like spending money, right?
Yeah, not really.
So, oh, the whole thing happened with Nexus saying that like JKS didn't want to join as well. That was fun. Did we all saw that?
Yeah, we saw
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And everyone saw JKS reply. Just want to make sure, looking out for my boy here. You know,
Yeah.
he didn't get info on who the fifth was going to be. Didn't want to join a team if he didn't know who the fifth was going to be. All right, guys, lay off him. All right, he's trying to look at his options. We'll have a JKS update later in the show. What else we got here? Okay, so I think for the next one, we've already spoken about FaZe a little bit throughout. Big and Pain, whatever. The two we need to talk about is G2 and Vitality, right? Both with kind of, it seems weird to say for G2 because of their result earlier in the year at Katowice, but I guess the last couple of months, if you just look at that sample size, it is a breakthrough game for them to get back into to winning ways. It depends on how we want to frame it.
Yeah.
And Vitality making a grand final, but then kind of disappearing. The first grand final, the first like playoff run for this Vitality roster, right? Since they've come together at the start of the year. So for both of these teams, this event could be really important to see how we go into the tail end of the season, right? We've got the Roobet Cup and then we've got Cologne. And then that's it. Then we go on a 4-week break and then we come up with Blast and EPL and then the next majors here already, right? So we're going to go into a really, really busy time. But Snappi, throw this one to you. You can pick G2 or Vitality or both, whichever. Do you think that the results of this event are going to kick them up a gear, or you think there's still maybe some changes needed in these teams?
I think it was definitely a massive boost for Vitality to kind of get further in the tournaments. Like I think some confidence issues has probably been there when you keep going out before playoff. So I think for them it was really important to show a good result here. Also for their own mental health, like going forward, that they don't keep bombing out. And I also think they looked a bit better. Obviously, they went to the finals, so they must have looked better, right? For G2, I think they are pretty like they generally look like a decent team, I would say, lately, as you say. So I think both of them are gelling a bit better. They will obviously still have some way to go in order to win the trophies, it looks like, but yeah, I think both teams look pretty decent at this tournament, and I also think G2, apart from the FURIA game at Dallas, was also alright. So I think it is looking a bit brighter for them, I would say.
What do you think, Striker? Are we headed to like, this is the thing with both these rosters, they're both created to win, right? And well,
Right.
when there's so many teams, only one team can win all the time, right? Or we can have a couple different names in the mix. But do you think these teams are on track to get that done by end of the year? Because like obviously there's rumors with Yakinder on the potential market and a whole bunch of other names. Like we were talking about Snax before, we had JKS in the mix. We got a whole free agent list we're gonna go over later. There's a lot of names available. And if you have players who aren't showing up, like Masuda early in the tournament was a fucking monster. Like there was a Mirage game where he was just headshotting everybody, and then you get to the final and he's almost a
Yeah,
non-issue,
nothing.
right? So like, what do you do? What do you make of this?
I mean, I think the reason why they got so far was a lot through basically Apex's kind of like opening games, both against you guys and then against FaZe, right? When they played, did they play FaZe after that? I have to no G2. Oh yeah, because he had two massive games where he was the reason why they won those close ones. And then there was obviously Zywo was there, kind of like as you would expect all the time. But when you have Apex creating this space,
Yeah, he
like
had a good tournament.
he definitely had one of his best tournaments in a while, and I think that was a big reason why they went to the final. And then in the final, it was kind of more of a maybe not necessarily a reflection of what we should be expecting from Vitality, but definitely like when you go up against a NAVI that seems like they just have all their individuals on, like it's just going to be difficult to get that much going for you. So
As
you
soon
just
as
have
that
to have
force
multiple
spike came
players.
in, mate. As soon as that force spike, it was like 9 rounds straight on Mirage, like in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
final. The force spike,
yeah.
second round.
Rounds. It
Yeah,
was 11.
Navi went, oh,
Wait, it was
okay.
14 rounds, I think, in a row.
Simple with the AK gets that opening kill from Palace, I think it was, right? Like he
kills
killed
even.
Apex. Yeah, you're like, okay, all right. Well, we all see what's going to happen here, and like you get Bit, Perfecto, and Simple, all just popping off in that game. It's like this. What are you going to do?
But I also think Zywo has started looking a bit more like Zywo again.
Yeah,
That
that's
obviously helps them. I think like if you look at his last event, he's maybe not as at where he was when he was rated the best player in the world for 2 years, but I think he's getting very close to that level again.
Yeah, he was very
Carrigan
consistent.
said something similar on the Dest, didn't he? The Blast is like, yeah, I think he made some comment like, yeah, Vitality going to win, and so I was going to drop 80. So I think Carrigan is feeling what it is to be an analyst to make a really brave call right there, right? So it doesn't always work out. But look, yeah, I think that the thing is, it is gonna be very telling by the time we go into that player break, like if things are gonna change. Because the same thing with G2, and this one like sucks because like Jax to me seems like he has to be one of the most fun people out there. Like he's always got a smile on his face, always look like he's bringing the team mood up. But like he's the Masuda for G2, right? Like if you were gonna make a change in G2, it's gonna be Jax. Like both of these teams are in a
Is it?
position where,
I mean, it could be
wow,
Alexi, depending on what the mentality is.
who are they going to get? Snappi, you want to go join G2?
I'm not gonna comment on anything here.
Like the thing is, like, who do they get as an in-game leader though? Like, where are we going
But
with
I
this?
don't know. I'm just saying that I think Jax is. I think he's valuable in his own right. I think.
I think he does a lot for the team, but it's
Yeah,
you
he does.
know,
I think. I think he does a lot of like outside the team in terms of the chemistry, but I also think he does a lot of the in-game stuff, like the things I said before, like that someone actually just have to run in and die sometimes, and that will always be Jax in that team. And I think if they're gonna get someone other, it will be hard to make him good without doing role changes on other players also. And I guess they don't want to do that because I think they want to keep their trio like of Honda, Nico, and Monesi as like a solid fragging core. And that means that they probably won't be able to create a lot of space for a fourth player.
yeah. Which I guess when we've heard like rumors of some of the names that they've been looking at, right? Like that's why when the idea of Yakinda is being thrown out there, like he's going to have to maybe sacrifice some of the freedoms he would have to help set them up in certain situations, which I don't know if that's something that Yakinda would be wanting to do, right? So I think it gets a little bit curious, like this whole discussion here.
Man, with Yekindar, that team would be a bit crazy because you have a lot of people who kind of like work on their own and just try to create space. And obviously Nico is kind of like an aggressive lurker. Yekindar is more like Yekindar is basically an aggressive lurker just because he constantly works on his own anyway. Even though he's kind of like the only one who does it, or at least used to do it with VP and outsiders. So it would be. I don't know how that would work. I'd be up for it. I would really want to see it. Because that's like we're almost entering like a similar territory that I almost felt like with you guys with ENCE when you guys brought in Maden. I was like, how the fuck are they gonna bring in another aggressive?
Yeah, but I mean, it could work. I'm not saying it can't work. I'm just saying that if they do it, they will have to make some adjustments, probably, like we did. Like we moved around Daesh a little bit. We moved around me a lot in order to create the space we needed for the last player. And then we turned some of the roles we turned back. But like you cannot just put in Yakinda and let him just play Jax's roles. I think.
Yeah.
Like I just don't think that's gonna work. So if they would ever do that move, it would mean that they would have to do a lot of other moves in order to fit him. I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah, I mean they have been making some changes. Like Nico isn't quite as solo like outside yard player type thing on nuke and stuff like that. He's a little bit different as well. So I'm curious about where this G2 is leading in general.
Let's go with the positive view here, though. Let's go with the positive view, right? That Vitality and G2 are now like on the map, and that they're going to be the next couple of weeks. They're going to refine everything and iron out all the issues. We go into Cologne, and we have so many teams who can be title contenders. That's the positive one. We can deal with the fallout after when someone gets grouped or some shit, right?
Like at least we know now that like we obviously knew that G2 had a ceiling and it was pretty high. Like we saw it from Katowice, and they generally can pretty much beat anybody. The problem is they don't really do it consistently, and it changes from map to map essentially. Like you get one G2 and they're going to be able to beat FaZe, and then you get another G2 and they're going to lose to an 25 team in the world or whatever. So like that's the problem with G2. But I think with Vitality,
the same problem with Vitality as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, of course, because they well, if anything, they were kind of okay with beating all the teams below them. It was just not
above them
being able to. Actually, the ceiling was kind of the problem for Vitality.
True.
They just never showed it like a title winning form. So that this is kind of like the first taste that we got of that from this version of Vitality. And even then, like obviously when they got into that final, they didn't look anywhere close to being able to win that title. So they're still like the jury's out.
Okay. All right, let's do this because I know Lucas wants to roll some ads, and we're kind of winding up this conversation around Lisbon anyway. Do we have any other takeaways? Snappi, you were there at the event. How was it? You got any nice things you want to say about it?
Yeah, it was a good event. I think there was not really much to complain about, in my opinion. I think when people think I'm a Blast hater, that's very wrong. I think they actually create amazing tournaments, and I think they have a top tier productions. Like I think when you watch the stream, it's probably the best in the business, right? The one thing I'm only a Blast format hater. I'm not a Blast hater.
Which is something they can change, right?
Yeah, they can change that very easily.
Yeah. They obviously adjusted things this time around, right? It was only 4 teams in the arena for the Saturday, Sunday. They didn't have anybody in the arena for the Friday.
We were sad about that. We thought we made the arena just by beating Big.
I thought that's what I thought was happening too. And then like when I saw that you guys were still in the studio on Friday, I was like, oh fuck! Like I thought 6 out of the 8 teams were playing in the arena, and
same.
and I was like, oh, that kind of sucks a bit. But I understand why, right? Like it's obviously very costly, but I wasn't aware of that. I probably should have been. I should have been tuned into a couple.
Yeah,
of
but I think some of the other teams they held tournaments, it was like they did play in the arena from top 6. No.
Yep.
ESL events do, right? So they do.
No,
Friday,
not
Saturday,
ESL.
Sunday.
I'm talking about Blast. I think
Blast
also used to do it. That was why we we just
right?
assumed it was top 6.
Yeah,
I mean,
in Copenhagen they
just...
did. No, wasn't it Friday,
Copenhagen
Saturday,
because they played some not group stage matches. Was it group stage
No,
matches
it was
in
like a
Copenhagen?
bracket, wasn't it? Wasn't that the reason that it wasn't a bracket for Copenhagen?
It was a double elimination, right?
I think so. I don't know. It was last year.
It's far. Yeah,
we can Google it. The
Yeah,
internet has the answers.
Yeah, but you're right. They played more games in the arena for sure. Like more than 2 days for sure.
Lucas is moaning in our ear again. There he is. It wasn't very sexual, Lucas. Sorry, Strike. I didn't mean to.
No, that's
you.
okay. I wasn't really going anywhere with that. I'm just
No,
saying. I remember there was more days, but I wasn't there the whole time. So it's
Well, that's right. We did the podcast from there, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I want to echo the sentiments of the broadcast, right? I think like in terms of what they do in terms of a show is really good. And the thing that you can tell the difference with what they do compared to the other TOs is the side content that they have. Like it's thought out when they're going to play it, right? It's not just the content team creates a bunch of content and then like there's a list delivered to production and production go play video number 56, right? Like they know what they're going to play. And I think I always sing the praises of the Blast production and what they do. And I think they have the best sponsor integration of stuff too. Like that piece they did where they had the players making their relax shoot, like that, all the content that they put out, it's always like, and the viewer at home, probably not picking this up, but there's always like a sponsor element behind it, right? Like it's always like for something like the economy thing they do with the Coinbase where the players are talking about what they'd buy. That's so they can bring numbers into a Coinbase segment, right? Like, and with the sound, it's headphones, right? And the things they think of are things that the viewer at home would be interested in watching. It's a bit of fun, right? So it's always good to watch from from that angle.
You can tell when you watch the broadcast that it's just people who understand Counter-Strike and who kind of like are very in tune about what they want to do. You know, you have a lot of like, this is something that you don't really see with other tournament organizers. And I think it's such a big mistake where, you know, casters ask for something and it happens. Like, it's just like that, you know, they want a replay of something very specific and it just happens immediately. Like they really get it quick. And it's just like a super slowed down, like maybe it's a really, really sick shot, or even it could be like something super random that happened, but they somehow just have it ready, you know, they will do it immediately almost. So it's crazy. Like obviously, you know, that there's probably a lot of money that goes into it, and that's a big reason why the broadcast is so polished. But obviously, you know, it's something that is missing from the other broadcasts, that where you don't have so much, you know, maybe integration with the cast.
Yeah, I think one of the things with that is like, for example, I know the guy who they have doing the replay stuff. So he's an EVS operator. I'm talking terms that for a lot of people at home probably mean absolutely nothing.
I have no fucking clue what that means.
EVS is the replay system that they use. And basically it's like a DJ little dial right there, right? Now, a lot of these companies hire EVS operators who aren't Counter-Strike players. But Blast hire the best EVS operators in the business who are Counter-Strike players because it makes sense, right?
Yeah,
and one of the guys they have doing it is Max, and he's a fucking legend. And he knows Counter-Strike well enough that when it's a save, he can play the replays in the save. Whereas some of these other companies, they don't hire people who know the game, which seems crazy to say, but they don't, right? They hire Tom, Dick, or Harry from down the road who works as a professional, whatever, and then they try and teach them Counter-Strike. Whereas Blast hire a crew that is a Counter-Strike crew. Or they know, like E-League did it the other way. E-League said, hey, you're going to work on this. You have to learn Counter-Strike and you have to know what's going on. Blast went, let's just hire people who do this job and know Counter-Strike, right? And that's one of the differ's in those kind of things.
You
right?
can see that for sure. Like the people are just in the right positions, you know.
Yeah. Anyway, we could sing their praises all day. Let's go to the ad break, shall we, Lucas?
The Xtrfy M42 RGB, what a fun mouse with 5 colorways, lightweight frame at just 59 grams with a swappable backplate to suit your grip style, the sensor, the easy core, the smooth skates, and driverless control for RGB and DPI is why you should check out the M42 RGB down below.
Buy and sell your skins now. Easy, fast, and safe. The best skin site. Credit card deposits and withdrawals. Instant cash out methods. Get the best deals. Quick, simple, reliable. Bitskins.com.
Thanks for sticking with us. We are back from the break, and we're going to be getting into some recent news after a round of Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire featuring Snappi on a travel day. So we're going to see how many questions Snappi can get right. I did the questions tonight, so they're not great questions. They're not well thought out like Prof. My questions are also more focused around updates, updates of the past, so we can kind of segue then into the updates that happened to Counter-Strike last week. Now, you know it at home. The people in chat are already starting to spam Bitskins in chat if you want to enter the draw to win whatever skin that Snappi is able to deliver for you here today. Snappy, are you ready for 5 questions, multiple choice about updates?
We'll see.
We'll see. Okay, Lucas is just getting everything ready in the back right there, and we are ready to get this one underway. Striker, you can be the assistant to Snappy here. You haven't seen these, have you?
No, I don't know what
All
they
right,
are.
good. All right, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, question number 1. Who wants to be a Skinionaire? Brought to you by Bitskins. Question 1. What year was the M4A1-S added to CSGO? Was it 2012? Was it 2013? Or was it 2014?
I don't know because I didn't really play.
It's not 12.
Oh,
It's not 12.
But I assume I did play a little bit at the start of 12, so I assume it has to be 2014 because it wasn't there then. And I also played a little bit in 2013. I didn't play in 2014 at all, so I think it was maybe 2014.
Striker, do you have anything you want to add to this?
I mean, it's definitely 13 or 14. I was leaning 13 at first, but then I remembered, I remember the event where it was first. And I think that was a 2014 event. Like me playing like actually at a tournament, at the time. And I think it was
Let's say
14.
2014 then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to lock in 2014, but
it's 13.
The correct answer is 2013. It was added on the 14th of August, 2013 as part of the ARMS deal update. Sorry, I did the hardest one first. My bad, guys. I didn't know how hard some of these questions were going to be. So we started with it. We started with we're one in the hole. We'll see how we go. Let's get into question 2. Maybe it gets easier from here. We'll see. Question number 2. How many different maps have been in the official Valve map pool? Is it A?
There's been these 7, right? And then obviously there's been Cobblestone, Cache, Train.
Yep. That's already 10.
That's 10. Has there been more? No, right?
So
am I wrong here?
You've got A8, B10, or C12.
I mean, it's definitely. I mean, we've already gotten to 10, so I think you're on the right path. I don't think there's anything.
No, I don't think there's more, right? There's Cobble Train and.
I mean, was there official Valve map pool? Okay, never mind.
Cobble Train and.
Cobble Train and
Cache is the other maps, and the rest are still in the map pool, right?
Yeah. To lock in.
I don't think there's anything else. Go 10.
Locking in B10. All right, locking it in, and the correct answer is 10. All right, see, we got a little bit easier out of that one there. All right, and you were bang on. Just to go through the maps for everybody playing at home: Cobble Train, Cache, Nuke, Inferno, Overpass, Ancient, Vertigo, Dust 2, and Mirage. All right, question number 3. Here we go. What month was Operation Riptide, the most recent operation, released? Was it September, October, or November of 2021? It's not that long ago. It's less than a year ago.
I never followed these things.
Fuck, I've really made it hard for everybody having.
I'm gonna say it was probably before.
I don't even know what Operation Riptide is.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the one where we added the scuba. The scuba gear.
I have no clue.
Why don't you can look at Lucas? Do you know? Do you want to help him?
I never know about these operations.
I know the answer.
What is this question, man?
All right, Lucas, you can phone a friend. You can be the friend. You can assist here.
You don't remember when they added the lady who looks like the Prime Minister of Denmark?
There's a
Nope.
lady who looks like the Prime
How
Minister of
would we
Denmark.
know? Okay.
No, I mean it's because we're both.
Well,
Danish.
Lucas knows the answer because he had to fill them in.
Well, I
Go with September.
I'm locking in September.
fine. I don't know.
It's all right. I'm sorry for making the questions hard. I don't know, man. I was like, Prof does this every week. This can't be too fucking difficult. Correct answer is September. Okay, well, we've got 2 out of 3. Let's move into question 4. Jesus, I don't even know what the question is.
I think you fucked up.
Fucking hell. I'm going to be banned from doing this in the future. Okay, here we go. What is the fire rate of the FAMAS? Is it A, 600, B, 633, or C, 666?
I think it's 666.
That's also what I was leaning at first. I don't know.
Isn't that what the M4 is?
We'll go with
the same, right?
I'm going to lock in your gut feeling here, everybody. 666, the number of the devil, and the correct answer is indeed 666. The M4A4 and the Galil have that fire rate. The AK and the M4A1-S is 600, and the Krieg is 545. So there you go. Some fun facts for everybody this evening. Now, this last one here.
This is going to be so fun, right, chat?
Regret my question. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to outsource this. I don't like this. This isn't fun. All right, the last one here. Question number 5. Let's see how this one goes. You're going to have to take a stab in the dark with this one here, Snappi. So in 2022, on LAN, top 30 teams, percentage of kill distribution with the M4A1-S. Is it 17 to 20%? Is it 21 to 24%? Or is it 24 to 27%? This is all weapons.
Where do you see the questions?
You see where all our webcams are?
Like a preview.
Where all our webcams
What did you say
are.
the percentage was?
17 to 20%, 21 to 24%, or 24 to 27%. That should actually have read 25 to 28, but whatever. Doesn't matter.
Like usually M4s have gone like somewhere around like 22-ish. So I would be willing to go for B, but I don't know. I actually don't. I'm not sure.
That's the old M4?
Yeah. This is
then I would
year's
definitely
like before.
Then I would definitely go for the highest number, just because of the fact that people won't pick up AKs as much anymore.
I've locked in 25 to 27%, and that right there is the correct answer, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. All right, well, we got 4 out of 5. I apologize, Snappy, that the questions were a bit more difficult.
Well, all of these operation things, like I don't even think I know one.
I'm sure you've never.
I don't even know what it is.
Have you played short matchmaking?
No.
There you go. See, this is where I fucked up. This is where. So you haven't been indoctrinated like me.
But I think like you should have gotten like a Ducha or Daisha or whatever.
They would have.
Yeah, he would have known. He would have known.
Okay. All right. Well, that kind of sucks that they were hard, but we got 4 out of 5. And we do have a winner. It is Rude Viking. He's been following since the 25th of November, 2019. Rude Viking, congratulations. You've won whatever the 4th tier of skins are. I think it's $15. HLTV Confirmed will reach out to you, and we'll get you the skin. That's Who Wants to Be a Skinionaire, brought to you by Bitskins, and thank you to Snappy and Strike for playing along. And again, I apologize for the questions. We'll get Prof back next week, and the questions will be better. All right, let's keep her moving because we've got the recent news to get through right now. And we were just talking about updates, and there was a reason for that. It's because we had a massive update last week, one that Snappy hasn't even had a chance to play on yet because he's just been playing a tournament with the old patch. So you probably even haven't had a chance to look at it too much. But we do have a couple of bits and bobs to jump into and talk through. So the first one that we want to do of the update is we want to talk about the M4A1-S being nerfed slightly, right? They still overall the same amount of bullets. They just changed the mag size. It's 25 normally. They changed it to 20, and you have 80 in reserve. So overall the same amount. But that right there, right? That right there, Snappy, when you hear that, do you think that is a step in the right direction, or do you think it's not going to do a whole lot?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it was so stupid that they changed the M4 to begin with. I think they were so close to having it balanced. They just needed a very, very small adjustments to either the mag size or potentially maybe chopping off $100 more, and then it would have been a pretty even distribution of M4 and M4A4 and M4A1S. I think with this update, of course, there might be a few more switching to the big M4, M4A4. But in general, the reason why you want to use the silencer is because of the time to kill and the fact that it's just so easy to control. And the problem is that it kills on 4 bullets, no matter the distance, no matter, and it's a laser almost, right? So the first kill will go your way in most scenarios, right? But before you obviously had to hit 5 bullets, and that was way better in my opinion. And there was advantages to playing with the silencer before they buffed it to the point where it was just OP, right? So I think they should just revert it back to the old change, put 28, give it 2800, and then give it 30 bullets and 90 in the mag, and then we would be fine. And I think it would be 50-50 because there would be advantages to both guns. I think you would use the big M4 in situation like it would have a faster. Um 5 bullets in the chest would kill faster because it has a higher
Faster
fire
fire
rate.
rate. Yep.
But the upside to having the silencer would then be that there's obviously no tracers, and you mask the sound, which means that if you're in a hidden position, you might be able to also get the second kill because of the enemy not knowing where you shoot from. So I think it would have like benefits both of them. But the main issue why people are using the silencer now is just because it's so fast with how you kill if you don't shoot a headshot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
think
sorry, just quickly, Striker. Some people in chat were saying that it's not how maths works and it's not the same amount. It was 25 bullets before in the mag, and it was 75 reserve, right?
Yeah,
And
and now
now
it's
it's
2080, right?
20 and 80. So isn't that
that
the
is
same amount of
Yeah, you're right.
ammo?
You're 100% right.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not going crazy.
No.
Because some people in chat think I am. Maybe I misspoke. Anyway, Striker, what were you saying?
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna echo pretty much the same sentiment. I think in general, the biggest reason why people switched in the first place, and just generally the biggest reason why people have gone for one or the other, has been DPS, which is damage per second, obviously, and like that's just so overwhelmingly in the favor of the silencer now. And on top of that, you have the added bonus of having that maybe like a split second where the opponents don't really know where you're being shot from, no tracers in smokes and stuff like that. Obviously, all of this now, like the weapon is just better. Like the only thing that the A4 has going for it is the fact that it has 30 bullets, except for now 20, but before 25, right?
But you
And
can
so I
still
think
kill everybody in one mag if
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
very
but the
efficient.
thing about those extra bullets, they don't even matter because you need the extra bullets to spam smokes and walls,
yeah,
right? And that's where you want no traces. So like the mag size doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's not something that really makes the M4A4 better. The only thing is the fire rate, but the advantage to the fire rate is obviously that you should kill faster, but they completely destroyed that by just buffing the damage on the silencer.
yeah, but you gotta wonder if it is more of like a smoke spam update rather than making sure that the two guns
Yeah.
are a bit more balanced. Because like obviously as much as 5 bullets doesn't really sound like a big difference, it does open you up to like a little bit more weakness than it used to before. Like you just don't have as much leeway when you're spamming smokes as you did before. 5 bullets there or back could make a pretty big difference, especially in places like a ramp on vertigo and things like that, where you just spam smoke all the time. Like it's just all you do in defaults pretty much every single round. And so like, and obviously it is not the sexiest thing to do in Counter-Strike. People don't really like watching people just spam smokes back and forth and people getting kills through that. So I wonder how much that was the thinking from Valve, more than making sure that the guns are a bit more balanced.
And also, like, I think that they're in the future, and I don't know how long in the future, right? It felt like this change has been needed for a while, but like Valve like to collect a lot of data, right? So if this isn't going to move the needle, right, or stop what they were trying to achieve, right? Because we don't know why Valve made the change, right? They've looked at
Yeah.
the stats of something and they've gone, we don't like this, we want this to change, right? We can only assume. And we can only all see together, because just because Valve think it's going to change this doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the intended change, right? So I guess they'll monitor it quite heavily. And then if it's still like 90-10 in terms of like use case, it's more like 95-5, it feels like, right? Like out of percentage of players
Probably.
using it, then I'm sure they'll make more changes in the future. But I'm with that point that you're making, Striker. If there's less smoke spam, I'm all for it. Because
Yeah,
it's so
that's good.
boring just like watching someone trying to go for a cross nuke with a smoke wall on the T side, and like the guy from Heaven and the guy from Main are both just spamming on different angles. So no matter how, if you try and cross slow or fast, someone's getting fucking tagged. And it's like, come on, man. I just invested $900 in a smoke wall, and now I've just got two dickheads in positions that I can't even punish. I don't even know where I'm getting shot from, and I'm gonna take 50% damage or die trying to cross secret and get some map control. It's like, at least give me a fight I can fight back. Like that kind of that annoys me a bit. Like, and I think that kind of adds to what everybody's saying about Vertigo with all the spam there too. Like, I know Vertigo, a lot of teams don't love it. I think Vertigo can be a fun map if you play it with a bit more versatility than just executing A. But yeah, those smoke spams, if we get less of them, I'm all for it. Like, I think this is good. I think it's a step in the right direction, at least. It's better than them not doing anything with the
It's a wrong step in the right direction.
It's a wrong. Okay, all right. Well, we can monitor this one and see how this one ends up. Now, the other one here, actually, there's a couple of them. But before we get to the ancient changes, I have some screenshots that we can show everybody. Is the bomb radius change on Inferno. Now, Snappi, I'm sure you haven't had an opportunity to experience this one yet, but there was a Reddit thread with a user called Zane_Clane, I guess to rhyme with Zane, ZANE_CLANE. He put up a Reddit thread. I can link the Reddit thread in chat for everybody. Lucas, you don't need to bring that up, but you'll be bringing up these screenshots and hit my mic in a second. That's the Reddit thread if you want to go, and it's been up there a couple of days if you haven't been frequent.
Where is
it? I'll put it in here for us. Sorry, this one here. And the pictures that we want to look at this is like fucking trying to do a PowerPoint presentation. Right? Yeah, here we go. Lucas, bring up this one here for everybody at home. This is the one we're going to look at right now, guys, just so you guys can see what we're looking at too. Lucas, bring this one up for everybody. So this is if you plant this first one in the back corner of Inferno. So what they've done, now I'm going to give you guys my theory on all of this, and then we can kind of talk through it all. Now, Inferno is one of the maps where saves happen the most, right? When you lose a site, that's pretty much it, and it's not active at all. Most teams don't even bother fucking hunting. So this change right here has increased the radius of the bomb and the damage, right? So you can see here, he's done it in 4 different little colored outlines. 100 plus damage within that area. So if the bomb goes off, it's planted back of the site. You're in CT Arch, you're in Library, you're in Boiler, you're going to die. Right, 50 damage if you're between the red and the orange little circle right there. So pretty deep down mid in a chicken pit, jumping out second mid window, or 25 damage if you're in the next one. And then outside of the green circle, 0 damage, right?
Is this the old damage?
This is the new one, I'm pretty sure. The 2 that he put there are on both bomb sites. Those links should be of both bomb sites. So now, for example, this is obviously back left corner. If you plant a default, the guy in pit's not surviving. The guy in pit's fucking dead. There's no saving in pit anymore if you plant default anymore. That's GG. That's over. Now, my theory on this is Inferno is a test case, because I have said on this show before, I fucking hate it how you can plant Dust 2B and survive a car. I hate it that you can plant Nuke lower and survive window side, right? Because there's no exit strategy required. You get into the site, you chill, you leave. Snappi, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, mate, but I remember with 1.6, like if you were anywhere that felt even close to the bomb, you were fucked, right?
Die. Yeah, I think for sure Nuke is like the biggest example where I feel like you just can stand almost right next to the bomb and survive somehow. Like I think on Nuke, the bomb really doesn't give a lot of damage. I didn't think it was much of a problem on Inferno, but like maybe it was.
This is the map where people save the most, though, right? Like, I don't have the exact numbers, but Inferno feels like a map where people save a lot, right?
Yeah.
Now, the theory behind this, if the Ts have to be more active on exiting the site, right? Okay, you got the site, cool. The bomb's down, but you have to be more switched on and vigilant about how you're going to exit. I remember exit used to be a big thing. All right, guys, we're all going to exit banana. All right, like this is clear. Like it used to, now it's not. Now it's like whatever. Like who gives a fuck? But in a game where saving is quite prevalent, or a map where saving is quite prevalent, if the CTs are incentivized to play these off angles to try and kill you as you exit the choke points and damage your economy that way, it could make post-plant situations, even in save scenarios, more active. And I think that's good, because I'm fed up of 40 seconds and Tom, Dick, and Harry sitting in the B bomb site saving their M4s and the T's not having an established economy and not hunting. This would make end of rounds more active. And that's why I think this is the test. If it makes end round more active, even with CT saving on Inferno, then maybe we see it implemented on Nuke or Dust 2 or other maps where we also have that problem, right? And I think that could be a positive change, because it takes a dead part of the game and it makes it more active. And I think that's a good thing, because it makes more decisions, right? And also, it does this. If you are a CT side and you want to go for a retake, but you want to come posture for the first 20 seconds and see if anybody oversteps a mark, which the Ts will have to do earlier now if they want to survive with all their guns, then maybe you'll be able to go for more late retakes. Someone slips the mark, doesn't get the kill, you get the first one, and then you're actually able to go for that retake. I think that would make it just more interesting
Just more
overall.
exciting, yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I agree with that. I think one more thing that this will inevitably change a little bit is how much money there is in the game. Like you were talking about, obviously saving, and obviously if you have a larger damage radius from the bomb, it means more people will die. Also, because CTs will just have more incentive to try to kill you off as you're exiting the bomb site. That just means like more people will die. There's going to be less money in the game, and so the economy game is going to be a little bit more important. Maybe that's also a reason why they would make this change, right? Just not to have so many full buys, maybe from both sides and stuff like that in these scenarios where three players from both teams survive in a round or even more at times, in Inferno. So I wonder how many of these factors did Valve actually consider? I'm sure probably all of them, but I don't know like based on what they actually made the change though.
What do you think of all this, Snappy?
Well, like what you said makes sense, but at the end of the day, it might also incentivize people to play for numbers, which means that they will just go for kills instead of actually going for rounds. So could also work the other way around, I guess.
Okay,
But
that's an
yeah,
interesting way to look at it. Yeah, I just am like for a view for someone who has to commentate 40 seconds of like nothing with the bomb down and people saving, like this might give me something extra to talk about, right? Like there's been some Inferno games with some Russian teams that is fucking like watching paint dry
yeah,
sometimes with all the saves,
I do think like some of the maps, I do think it is a bit weird that you can save right next to the bomb explosion. I don't think, as you say, you should be able to save inside B on just 2 when the bomb is exploding. And I do not think you should be able to save on nuke under right next to the door when the bomb is
Yeah.
exploding. I don't see like I just don't think it makes sense. As you say, it will create more fights when people have to exit the sites because the CTs will try to go for them. So I agree that I don't think it should be they shouldn't take it overboard, but I do think that there is some maps where they could increase the bomb explosion a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, you can see that they only increased it by 120. So maybe what is it? Maybe like 25% compared to what it used to be. So it's not a massive change. It's obviously enough. Like you
Yeah,
can
but
tell,
it still
especially
is
Inferno. Like you
pretty
can,
significant, I guess, on a map
yeah,
like on Banana, for example. If you plant on
yeah,
B, it could be significant that you suddenly have to exit Banana in order to save
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
now you will always see the T's inside the corner on Banana because they don't want
Yes.
to enter the
yeah,
ramp area. And
yeah.
there we could probably expect a lot more fights because people are like 50 HP. They might have to actually exit completely in order to survive, and they just have to take the duel against a CT waiting for them.
Yeah, I think that's very deliberate from Valve. Like that they definitely looked at exactly like what spots you just no
Yes.
longer can be, and like you can tell that they just the radius just moves just below that point where the pits like from a backside plant. Like if you look at the picture that Chad was talking about earlier from the backside plant, like that's no longer possible. That's not the front side rather. That's no longer going to be possible to save in that area. So it's just going to be like clearly they looked at these positions and said, okay, we don't really think that's okay, so let's just increase it enough so that those are positions are no longer viable, right? Or if they are, you just have to have 100% 100 HP or whatever it is. So I definitely think that they had the right idea.
Okay. Well, boys, you want to jump into the next bit, the ancient map changes here? I
Yeah,
took
let's
some
do it.
screenshots. You
Cool.
wouldn't fucking believe it. All right, Lucas, here you go. Bring this up for everybody at home. Then I'll put it in the chat for you boys too, so you can see it too. And this is all like the prep work I did. So obviously there was ancient changes today, last week as well. So what I've done is I've taken these pictures with wait, is that the same picture? I fucking uploaded fucking twice. No, it's different. So
No,
it looks like I've done the
it's
new.
after and before.
I've done the new one first, and then the old one second. So in this first one right here, Lucas, bring it up for everybody if you can. Are we getting there? It is. So the first one is obviously the changes to the A site. They've closed off Temple, right? That's the biggest one there. If you go down a picture, Lucas, you can see everyone can see what it looked like before. It was open before. There was way too many crossfire possibilities on this site. Way too much smoke spam, all that bullshit. Keep going down. We've obviously got the change to donut. You can see here in the donut position, it's much wider, right? These angles are not as tight at all. This is just a vertical one. You can compare that to the old version, how there was a lot more like corners, right? So go to the next one, Lucas, and you can see here it's similar angle taken, and you can see all those different little jut outs of the walls, the different corners. Like this is obviously in the newer version much more open. I've taken it from different perspectives. If you go down the next one, Lucas, so this is how it's looking now with here it is. It's much wider. Look, it seems much roomier in Donut. I feel that this is I don't know how this is going to play out necessarily. I think before it was maybe a little bit too geeky with how the angles were, but I like this change right here. Snappy, any like initial thoughts on these two changes towards A? Because this is the big changes towards the A side.
Yeah, I do think like in general that it should make it more T-sided and it should allow for easier plans on A. I think it's a good update overall. I think the map should become a bigger orb map now, I think.
Okay, that's
Interesting.
interesting. Yeah. Well, Temple was a really powerful place with the AWP
I think
before.
that's the biggest thing that I'm looking at, because like previously a lot of teams played just one guy on A, and as long as you had enough smokes, you basically just like smoked off one side and then you were just peeking one way or the other, and you basically had one guy in Temple covering both angles a lot of the time, and just the second guy was just coming in to throw smokes to help you out. So I think that is going to put much more pressure on CTs to have two people there more consistently, rather than just one guy, covering both angles at the same time.
Yeah.
And so like it's going to open the map up more for generally for Ts.
Yeah, but I think why I'm saying it is because if you look at, well, I don't know if you just want to talk about the age changes, but the reason why I say this thing with the orb is that the lines are more like it's going to be more straight lines now, first
Yeah.
of all, and second of all, if you as CT block mid and you can get your orb into the position towards mid to spot B, it seems
Okay.
like a pretty OP position to get the orb up. Just-
The
it seems
AWP
like
down
there's
the
going to
B
be more
lane.
straight lines, and also on B side, they now created more cover for an orber to potentially play the I don't know what you call it, like long or short or whatever, but the short area, like they added some more cover for an orber to
Yeah.
potentially play there, to play towards cave and go back and forth and stuff like this. So I think it's gonna be better for orbs now on this map on CT side, and I think it should also be better for like the T side should have an easier time now than before. I think.
Yeah, the next screenshot we got up here is obviously that change of the mid boxes being removed up on like shelf or ledge or heaven or whatever the fuck you want to call it right there. Like that right there was it felt really powerful for the CT in the sense that like you could stand on the mid side of that box and watch mid, but if your teammates needed you towards B, you could just swing around the other side and help them fight, right? You could help the cave guy, you could help the B long, like the B ramp guy. So removing those boxes, like I can see what you're saying in terms of it's going to be better, like the AWP is going to be able to take that fight. But also I was like having a look at it. Like if you're looking up there as a T as well, I wouldn't hate that fight. Like assuming they're not established, right? Assuming it's like start around, you're both running there, there's good util and shit. You do the standard cave smoke still. I like that fight more than with the boxes, because the boxes like they pop on out and then they fuck off and it feels like they're safe. Here it's like sure you might be able to try and get back, but you don't have anywhere near as much cover. Go
Yeah,
down
but I
to
do think if you block mid, that the orb should be able to come with right eye peek and just peek easily. And if there's a door smoke, the orb can't counter you from the T side, so he cannot hold it back, which
okay.
means that it should be very hard to actually punish an orb getting up there.
Do you think you see more of the Molotov that teams are bouncing off the skybox to land up there?
No, because it doesn't really work that good anymore, I think.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Could be the case.
You've got it from
You're
the
talking about the like where the box isn't anymore, right?
so yeah, like in the
You can jump,
screenshot.
you can throw a molly that lands so the orb cannot peak for the first
Yeah,
7 seconds. But I'm not so worried about the first 7 seconds. I'm more worried about an orb just dry peeking at an off timing. It's going to be hard to punish as a rifler because you also have to kind of look at cave swings. So this is why I'm saying that the orb should be able to get some more impact on the map. But maybe
Okay.
I'm wrong again. And I also think probably there's going to be some different smokes used instead of the cave smoke. I'm not going to give any ideas to what we're going to do. But let's see.
You got the other perspective if you go down a little bit, Lucas, just to show what it looks like looking up the lane for everybody, right? This is from top mid and just having a look at how it would look. But on the ones just below this, for the T's, it's just like a clear passage now, right? That fight is going to be curious. It feels quite barren, but yeah, I get what you're saying. If mid's blocked and you don't have to worry about your back at all in that position, you could take that fight and fuck off. Yeah, it could be something that's very deadly. Keep going down, Lucas. We'll go to
it's
the
also just to
snipe
touch on
boxes.
this a little bit more with the box not being there. Like you just have the boost behind the smokes that CTs just throw towards the right side, like for T's entering from like T spawn into middle. Like that op, if he gets boosted, like he's gonna see like the entire lane, right? Like, and he's gonna be able to punish CTs way more.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well,
Like from
from
team mid?
yeah,
Oh,
That would
over
be
the
a
top
risky
of the
boost though.
smoke?
yeah.
Yeah, but they're getting players are getting found out doing that boost over the smoke a lot now, right? Like I was watching, I think it was FaZe the other day. Like Twist is literally just looking for the head over the top of the smoke. Like he's
Fair
close
enough.
near that wall on the left,
Okay,
and he's
okay.
just looking for the head.
Yeah,
Like, and he just fucking mowed down
but
two, I think.
maybe it's not going to matter so much if that. I mean, that upper wasn't looking up there, right? Before, like they were more like looking towards middle, but now they can look more for the like the B sides or the B side, like the control, and make sure that if people are coming out of cave, like they can't really move around as easily, and try to take over the what do you call it, the banana side.
Yep.
And stuff like that. So I think that's going to change a little bit as well. Like obviously, could be more like the off timings as Snappi was talking about, rather than just behind the smoke early on in the round, because of it, as you say, people just throw nades into that a lot and just take care of the boost. But it's just an extra thing that CTs have to be careful of when they take the banana control.
But one of the things I think is good now is that because of the change they made to A, that means that it's going to be way harder to play retake A. Like, and I think one of the issues before was that the CTs, if they wanted, they could just take mid and B control, and there was not really a lot the Ts could actually do about it. Obviously, there was some ways where you smoke the mollies, but like now you have to kind of control your aggression a bit more. I would say you cannot just go and take mid and take B and make sure and also have A kinda. You have to kind of be more strategic about what parts of the map you actually want to take, I think. Whereas before you could literally just gain all the map control as CT if you wanted straight off the bat, and then play maybe 1A or retake A, and that's not really that hard at the end of the day because the Ts have to take a lot of space on that side in order to get a bomb down in the first place.
Well, that's right. Like teams would play like 3B, 2 mid, or like 3 mid,
Yeah,
2
yeah, there
B,
would be a lot
right?
of these 3B, 2
Yeah.
mid, and then they would just go one donut, and the orb after mid would just maybe rotate to CT. One of the B guys would go out mid. Like there could be a lot of things, but I think people were very focused on shutting down mid and B aggression, and then, well, often just leaving A or putting the orb on A once in a while, so people actually respected it, and you didn't rush A just all the time because you knew that, well, I don't know, Symbol is behind the Xbox. Not so funny to rush, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing. That A site, right? If it gets a lot more action, then it is just going to have to change the CT setup completely, and it can't. Like
Can you show the last the B
yeah,
side,
Lucas, go
Lucas?
to the
pillar.
cover on B for us, mate. It's a couple down. This cover on B is good, right? It's wood still, so there still might be a couple of problems right there. One of the peaks that it makes impossible now, as Lucas might get there eventually,
There you
is that peak from cave down to the ramp, right? You used to be able to see if you could like hold like a slither gap and you could peek from cave to the top of the ramp. You can't do that anymore. So that kind of removes an option for the CTs holding for that position because sometimes AWPers would like bait for their cave player and then peek that ramp position, right? So that's removed. But a little bit more cover here. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But the bigger one for me, Lucas, go down to the cave shots. Is now cave. You only have to worry about one side if you're a T, right? You molly off the wall. You completely cover out that right side, and there's only a tiny little position on the left side now for the CTs to be able to stand, right? So this cave fight used to be like a 50-50. What side are you clearing? How much utility are you going to use? I think cave should be easier now for the Ts to get control. Like you have less variables to worry about. You can see here the left side is very shallow.
Gone,
yeah,
much.
you can compare that with the next one, Lucas, just so they can see the sheer difference in that pocket on the left here. But not only did they change this, right? If you go down to the next set of screenshots, I just want to explain this, Lucas, where I'm looking up at the roof. They actually made this gap, which Stown had a flash through. It's much smaller now. So this is how it is in the update. But if you go down to the next one, just to show them, this is how big it used to be. It used to run the whole top of cave. And now it's just this tiny gap. So that little pocket where people would spam through the wood, used to be able to throw a flash in there. I haven't come up with a new one just yet, but it's so much smaller to be able to get a flash in there. So I feel like that was an intentional change, or maybe it was just a side effect of how they changed that room. But either way, it's a little change, not a massive one, but it's just something I noticed and I think might come into play in some regard. But the cave change, I think, could be a big one because cave and B lane is the most important part of the map in my mind, right? Because it links everything together. And if this now is easier to contest or take control of for the Ts, it's going to change the dynamic of the map definitely.
Yeah.
What do we got here? Oh, the last screenshot, Lucas. Show this one. I don't think this spot was possible for. I posted this on Twitter, and Rez said, "Yeah, just hope they don't boost tree." But this is back of temple AWPing into A main. Now they can boost tree, right? Now that is a possibility here, but I don't think you could do this before. Like I don't think you could sit in the back of temple and have this line. You used to have to sit on the lip of temple and AWP into main. But now there's this fucking. I know they can boost tree. I
This
get
is
that.
right side, A side. Yeah, okay. I can
In
see now.
temple, you're in. I'm fucking deep in temple with that.
But I guess you can boost an A lobby and kill him, right?
Probably. Oh, yeah. Actually, you might be able to
So there
catch
is a
like a little bit
counter
of his
to the
armor.
like
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't checked the map, but if you can that, at least there's a counter to the position.
Yeah, we didn't look at it too much. I just like found the angle and told Rush to stand there for a beautiful little screenshot. But yeah, like it look, the changes I think are going to affect the map positively. I think they've targeted some problem areas. And I think now like Snappy's brain, even though he's tired from a travel day, is probably worrying on what new ideas he can be bringing to the map for Cologne that's coming up in not too long. But like there are some new options here, Snappy, just from seeing this off the bat, right?
Yeah, I think it's gonna change the map a lot. Like, it's some pretty big changes, I would say. I think it changes a lot for the cave player, changes a lot for the A player, changes a lot for also the mid players because now potentially there can be a lot more mid rushes coming from B side instead of the A side. So I think it changes the whole dynamic. I think we are gonna see CT's play a bit more passive than what we've been used to seeing. Don't think there will be as many aggressive fights. People will still play aggressive, don't get me wrong, but it won't be just a brawl or every single round on B side as you see sometime in mid. I think it will be more like you have to kind of pick your fights and then potentially fall back. And then I also think that the only position that actually got buffed for CT is kind of towards the banana area. It's probably going to be easier for the banana guy to hold that area now because he got a bit more cover and he can also stand in the short area of B a bit more without getting spammed through the wood.
True.
So I think the only guy it got better for on CT is probably the banana guy. For everyone else, it probably became harder to hold their respective positions.
And that felt like such a shit job before because you felt like you just had to play retake unless you were going aggressive because there was just so many util sets that would be coming your way.
Yeah, like people would just spam, as you said, like you don't like this smoke spamming. Like I think it was a pretty decent position to hold banana CT, but half the kills would come from a guy standing on long, killing one or two guys with a silencer through the smoke because they have to cross the line.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's jump into these some of these roster changes because we'll fly through these because somehow we've already been almost doing this for 2 hours. I apologize, everybody. I don't know how I let this get out of control. So let's fly through some of these just quickly here. Heroic bench refresh. Strike, I'll let you take this one. You were making some comments about this last time round.
Yeah, even the last 2 episodes, I think we kind of touched on it even before it kind of with the day one pinnacle that I would be shocked if refresh stuck around until after the offseason just because we've just seen him like disappear for like really big events and he was just a clear weak link. Like obviously we a lot of the time we spoke about heroic, we said how like this is kind of a fight. They don't really have a clear star outside of Stone. Like everybody else is kind of sometimes there, sometimes not. They just don't really have a clear stars, but they also don't have that big weaknesses. But if there was one, it was refresh. So I definitely see where they're coming with this. The report is that it's Yabi coming in. I don't know if that's true. Actually, I haven't actually heard properly, but it would make sense.
Snappy's a Dane. Snappy, who's joining?
He knows.
I will not comment on anything.
Well, look, from what we seem to understand is Yabi, but there are a lot of Danish players out there that could be available if Heroic want to spend some money, right? So it's not like they're lacking options in this position. But Yabi, with the performances that he was having in Copenhagen Flames and Nikodos and Roy over there to Fnatic, which we'll talk about too, Yabi would be a good pickup. He seems pretty skilled. He's got some good experience to him now. He feels like he could slot in and it wouldn't set them too far back. Whereas if they went for like a younger name, I know it seems weird saying that when we're talking about, I think the Yabi's like 18, right? But it seems like it could just be a plug and play. Well, if we're not going to get out of him who he knows is going to join, then maybe we leave that. Did you think that there was going to be a roster change with Heroic, Snappy? Let me put it that way.
Yeah, I thought they were eventually gonna do one. Like it's been 18 months and they've been like in the, I guess, same position in the sense that they haven't really been able to kind of break through as much on LAN as they did online. And I think the change is Like I don't really like I didn't know what they were gonna change, but I thought that eventually they would kind of feel that they had to kind of try to mix things up in order to either go forward and maybe take a step back in the moment, but at least in the future keep going like forward. So yeah, I think it's pretty expected that after 18 months you would make a change, I think.
Well, we're going to
Yeah.
find out pretty soon, right? Cologne's just around the corner here, so I'm sure we'll find out shortly.
I
who
I
mean,
can,
wonder, I wonder how long, like if they were the longest standing roster in the top 30, probably, right?
Also Navi maybe.
Oh yeah, true. Now we had it longer.
What were you going to say here, Lucas? You started.
I
You're
mean,
our
there's
our
one Dane
resident
they
Dane.
can't get anymore, which we don't have on the list. I don't know if you talked about this. Kiabu is back.
Yeah, but he's
Yeah,
at
he's on
endpoint
endpoint
now.
But they qualify for Pro League. We were going to get to that. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, he was their stand-in, right? So he was their stand-in for a while. Yeah. Anyway, let's move forward. Let's jump into the next piece of news. There was a whole little scenario. I don't know how much of this you caught, Snappi. A bit of drama over there at EG with Evie, who was an analyst who got fired by Twitter, talking on a podcast about Stewie and the EG team and some of his experiences. Now, I haven't bothered reading too much into this. I didn't. The headlines were kind of what I thought was going on at EG anyway, like mismanagement, people not doing what they should have been doing. Like I was hearing these things that I've heard. I wasn't surprised, right? I know a lot of people. I know Yanko made a tweet about airing dirty laundry,
Right.
and Evie had a follow up today, like trying to explain why he's saying what he was saying. Like, I don't know if I think this is a good or a bad thing. I think when I know how much money these EG guys are making, even if any of the things that Evie said is even remotely true, I don't even think I could put it in words. Like what that would do to me internally. I would probably have a mental fucking breakdown, probably like what Malik is trying to recover from right now, if it is the case. But it's not a surprise. Is anybody here surprised to hear half of those things?
No.
Not really. I like when a team is doing like that, there has to be some issues. Like maybe like the fact that it got aired in public, I am a bit surprised about, but it was pretty obvious there were some issues in the team.
I'm
Yeah.
just glad. Like, look, I know that airing this kind of stuff just opens people up to be susceptible for it. But there's a bunch of players who are getting away with acting like children in a professional pursuit that probably do need to be called out to change. Like, and
Look, like obviously, there's going to be disagreements in teams, and like that's just going to happen. Like you just have 5 people working together, and then you have coaching staff and stuff like that. There's going to be clashes, and you don't have to talk about everything. But obviously, if there's something going on for fucking months at a time, there's no resolution. You really don't think that guy is going to make any changes to how he behaves. Like it's not like I love it, the fact that people are like airing this, but at the same time, like if it's going to help some players just kind of wake up and realize that they've actually been behaving like an idiot, then fine.
I mean,
yeah,
there is a lot of players that have gotten away with not behaving in a lot of teams, where it's just never said in public. I think people would be surprised about how some players act in teams.
it's more common than people realize.
Yeah.
Stewie is just one who's had somebody come out and say something publicly. I think.
Yeah, and also he's been a leader in a leadership role, which makes it more significant, I guess, because
True.
a lot of the time it's players that are not in a leadership
Right.
role who would act like this. I would presume, at least in my experience, we definitely had some cases where players didn't really well behave, but it would rarely be the leader of the team, I would say, because you kind of have to well
I mean, you're supposed
show.
to.
Yeah, you're
Yeah, you're
supposed to be at
supposed to
your
be the
best
guy who
to,
calms
to
everybody
lead the
down.
way,
Yeah.
right? You shouldn't be acting like a well, I'm not gonna say more, but you shouldn't
Yeah.
be acting out, right?
Yeah, and I think it's weird because EG obviously like selected who they wanted to be the coach, and they gave these guys another chance. They got them automatic. Like it felt like they were doing kind of what the team. Well, actually, I don't know because like there's mixed reports. Like I heard that Malik wanted to get MBK over to the team and stuff. Like I heard lots of different stuff about like what the roster could have looked like, and then what they ended up with. And then if you have all this, because they had a pretty deep coaching staff. What's the point of
You
all the
mean that?
coaching?
But
Yeah.
like after they put together the first one, and then that didn't work, right?
When Malik went there, right, there was no
Yeah.
team. He was put in charge
Yeah,
with
of course.
putting it all together, right? So I like
Yeah.
because there's obviously like lots of conversations going on about who was going to join the team, especially like with JKS and all these different names that are out there for availability. Like there's lots of
That
names
was Valdo
floating
at some
around.
point, yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of names floating around who could have potentially joined that team, but it feels like Malik didn't even get a chance. And look, I can't speak to how good Malik is as a coach because I've never been a player
Right.
or an analyst working with Malik, right? I can only talk about what he has done and some of the results that he has had. So I can't sit here and like defend him and his system and everything like that. But like from what it feels like, he didn't even get a chance to do what he wanted to do. And like that in itself is a problem. If you're going to get given the keys from the org, but then the org won't back you up and instead just fires you because it doesn't work and holds on to their prized chooks, right? Chooks, guys, everybody flying at home is chickens, but said in Australian. Then it's like, well, what was the point of this in the first place? Because you obviously weren't trusting the coaching staff to do the job. You were just going to stick with these players. So why did we bring in this coach and shit? Like what?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that fired is also the right framing of this because from what I understand, it was more Malik's decision to. But obviously, you hear conflicting reports, and it could have been kind of mutual as well. But it's not like it doesn't seem to be. It doesn't seem to me like the organization just backed Stewie and decided to fire Malik. It just seems like, if anything, it seems like both of them are out at this point.
You think Stewie's out?
I think they're both out. Yeah,
Really?
I think there's a better chance that Malik returns rather than Stewie. That Stewie stays.
Is really?
Yeah.
Isn't Valens in charge now?
Well, why is that bad?
No,
Or
I'm not
is it
saying it's
because-
bad, but like I assumed Valens was going to have more of like he was going to be more involved in the team, right? Isn't this the whole?
Well, yeah, of course.
It's
But like,
what is
are you
his
saying
role?
are you saying he's just going to back Stewie because they were together in one team, or what's the logic here?
No, I look, but I don't know. Like the fact that they still have this roster and like the amount of money that the guys on the main roster get paid, I don't know if they've been able to adjust the amount of money they get, but it's like they're probably still paying them this amount of money to do what? Like I don't know.
I don't know if you looked at what's like when Stewie had a stream and he was trying to explain his side
I didn't
of
look
the
at
story.
any of it. I just read
watched
comments.
I watched through it. I read through some of the comments. I think Dustu transcribed a lot of it, and so I was reading back through it just to kind of like get my thoughts together on it. It's pretty clear that Stewie just doesn't think he's a good leader. So like, if you don't think that, like, what are you doing on the lineup? Then like, he's just out. Like he didn't say it outright, but he literally said like, I just wasn't a good leader, and I'm probably not fit for it. That's essentially, like, I'm paraphrasing, but it's essentially what he said. So like, if you're not going to lead this lineup, then you're probably not supposed to be on it.
But didn't he take over leadership in the Liquid team also?
Yeah. Yeah. He has been.
Fallen.
Yeah, that went also back and forth, and obviously that there was a lot of problems going with that. But just in general, like it's pretty clear that this EG lineup around Stewie is just not going to be the same like after the player break, and it's probably going to be Stewie who's out.
Okay. Well,
and if any, actually in the Valens interview, I did a big interview with him when he was transitioning into this new role, which is kind of like it's called director of athletics, which is just a funny title.
Counter-Strike.
Yeah, director of athletics for Counter-Strike is I think the official job title. So I was talking to him about what it entails, and he said it's kind of like a GM job combined with a lot of like experience in data analysis, because obviously that's where it's coming from. But what I was getting into is that like he specifically said that they were holding a lot of interviews both with the current players and with the former coaching staff, which is obviously relating to Malik. So there seems to be a way for Malik to even return to this lineup and potentially oversee the what we would call the main roster at EG.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be honest here. Unless you boys have anything else you want to say about EG, this is not a team I'm going to be closely following.
No, just go check out the interview with Valens though, because I think there was a lot of good insights. I don't say that just because I did it, because it's like we actually talked for like half an hour, and it was really nice just to get his thoughts on what this project was going to look like. And so if you want to learn more about EG, it's actually a really good piece.
Okay. All right. Snappi, you got anything you want to say about EG? Or
I didn't really follow the draft. I read a bit of the interview, but that's it. So it's hard for me to commentate on it.
Yeah. All right, let's just quickly talk about the conference, ESL Pro League Season 16 conference that's been going down in Entropiq, Sweden. This is, for those of you who are not too familiar with it, this is the new way to qualify for Pro League, right? So the conference is basically teams coming from different regions and playing against each other from national championships or this, that, and the other, right? So a bunch of teams in attendance. Lucas, I will put the link here. You can bring it up so everybody can see. There were 6 possible positions open for Pro League for the next season. We currently have 5 of the 6 qualified outsiders, aka VP, with the new additions of Norbert and Fame.
Yep.
Were able to take one of the top spots. Walksick and Co over there at Eternal Fire grabbed one of them. MIBR, M Point, as Lucas just brought up with Kyobi, were able to qualify. Right now, if you are using multiple monitors, you could even be watching the match. It's between FTW and Illumina for the final spot, and HEAP picked one up over Falcons just a little bit earlier in the day. I guess the big takeaways here is maybe Sprout not making it across the line. I would say that they're probably one of the only other names there that you'd be thinking should or potentially could. Australian Counter-Strike is in the fucking dumps right now. It's in the fucking bin. It's rubbish from everybody. So if Vertex for them, their first international experience for all of them besides Malta, I think. Order and Encore, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but it's in the bin.
I mean, Order lost to this FTW team not even having a chance, and it's a team that basically nobody's ever really heard of on this kind of a level. So, like, it's really difficult to see what the future is for Order.
But it is pretty expected the team's making it when I look, right?
Yeah,
as you say, maybe Sprout also, but like the 5 teams that already qualified is probably the 5 teams that I would put in the top 6 before the event. I would say.
I mean, Sprout is the only one like in the middle of them ranking wise as well. So it's kind of like it's pretty expected so far.
I mean, the last team that's gonna make it, I guess, that's playing right now is probably the only unexpected one. I guess.
Yep.
And they're on the 3rd map right now. They go on the distance. Their first map went to FTW, second map went to Illumina, and now they're on Vertigo, playing for all the marbles. So it means a lot to guess all these players. There's only a couple of names here that I think people would be familiar with, unless you're a Portuguese Counter-Strike fan of FTW. But PHR and Morels have been around the traps a little bit for Polish Counter-Strike. Okay, that's the conference. Those are the teams qualified. Pro League's going to be going down after the player break. I think it's Blast and then Pro League after the player break for August. Okay, next one here. shox and adreN have been benched over there at Liquid. I don't think it came any surprise that shox was getting benched. I think we already knew that was coming, but the adreN one was pretty interesting. Snappi, did you think that the coach was going to be getting the boot as well?
No, I didn't. But now that I guess there's news now that they got depths, I guess that could potentially be pretty good. Getting a new perspective. I think they had adreN for a long time, and they had someone in between, right? And then he came back or something. Who did I have? Was it Moses?
Moses, yeah, he was there. Yeah,
but I think it's probably good for them to get a new perspective. Is my guess. I think it's impossible to know what a coach is doing unless you're inside the team. But I think Dabs has been general been doing good in his teams when he was in game leading. So I assume he has a lot of good ideas that he can potentially implement. So I don't think there's any big surprises here. I mean, it is a surprise, obviously, that they remove adreN, but it's not like a massive surprise to me.
I think Naf will be very happy right now, Striker. He's got his mate in Daps alongside here for the ride. So that's one of the rumors I heard that was to get Naf to EG was to have Daps in game league.
I think Naf even like publicly admitted that this was going on. Yeah.
Okay, so not a rumor.
Yeah, not even a rumor anymore. I think it's just it was pretty much open.
What do you make of this? Do we heard any rumors on who the 5th is going to be? I think Richard was talking about maybe Yakinda being the 5th there, but like Yakinda could be going anywhere, right?
That's like rumblings about that, but it seems like getting Yakinda out of a situation with VP is difficult.
Didn't he tweet the other day that he's come to terms with them?
Yeah, I was gonna address that because as much as I thought that looked really, really positive and optimistic, from what I've heard, it's not. It's really not. It's really difficult to get him out of his contract with VP. It being a Russian organization and stuff like that, and it seems like they are asking a lot for him. I think Nexa said $1 million, right, or something like that. So like,
but that's Nexa also said that JKS didn't want to join OG.
Yeah, fair. I guess fair enough.
Right.
Yeah, but in any case, it seems like from what I'm hearing behind the scenes, it seems like it's not going to be that easy to get him out of it. Whoever you are, whether you're Liquid or if G2 would want to have a stab at a player like that, even if you're a big organization, it's not going to be easy. So that's the biggest part. That's the biggest concern with Yakinda.
Yeah,
but I think they do need a type. Like they do need a very aggressive T-sided player. I think in the team. I think that's what's going to elevate the game. I think if they're getting a passive player, they're just going to keep having issues.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to, I mean, I was looking at the free agent list that I had before, and I was looking at all those names, and I'm like, Yakinda is the only one that I feel like would actually fit. Like everybody else, you have to make a lot of concessions about like where you move who and stuff like that. Obviously, he's the level of a player that you would want in a Liquid if you want them to become anywhere near a title contender, right? But just in general, like the players that are available and what they're looking for, like they really need like somebody who will make space for them. Like it can't be just Nitro and Elige basically. Like that's just not enough. So I think that would be a really good fit, even if it might not happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk more about Liquid when they add some more players. Let's quickly talk about Fnatic putting HEAP on trial. Didn't even put this one in the news because it happened so late. Let me put this one here. Fnatic and HEAP on trial. All right, bang. I got to spell trial correctly here before I hit enter. But this one right here, I think now that we go back to the news that came out, Striker, maybe we did know all along that it was forZe's teammate.
Oh, you mean the whole conspiracy theory?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know if that was an actual. I don't think so. I mean, whatever. It would be funny if that was actually the play, like the fucking next level hint that it was going to be his. But no.
But this is the thing, right? Now that they've added HEAP, we saw the team already with forZe, and it was only one event, right? But like having HEAP there, it doesn't feel like this. I don't know how to frame this, so it doesn't sound like I'm being a dick when I said it. But it doesn't feel like he has to do a lot. It feels like they have the role players already set out. Like obviously Roy and Nikodos and like Crims are still going to be the rock for the team, and depends on Mezzi and how he transitions with this whole in-game leadership stuff. But having HEAP come in, what are we expecting here? Like I don't think we're because the only team he has on HLTV is Dignitas.
Yep.
Right, and he played there and they weren't always playing against the best opponents. Like they were playing within the tier 2 realms of Counter-Strike, right? Like consistently online a lot of the time. Snappi, have you had many run-ins with HEAP? Do you know much about him?
Not really, to be honest. It's hard for me to judge how he would fit in the system because I haven't followed him enough to know what kind of a player he is. To be honest.
Okay. All right. Well, we can kind of leave it at that because I guess we're all going to learn very soon.
Yeah. I mean, it's
what
like
type of a player he is.
If there's one thing to be said, it's not like he's been amazing. You know, it's not like he's an obvious fit or anything like that for Fnatic, or like an obvious player that should make the step up to tier 1. They clearly see something in him. Otherwise, they wouldn't be trying him for whatever it is now, like a month apparently.
And he's Swedish, so they're trying to stick to the roots, Striker.
Fair enough, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what happens over there. Let's get into the N1 moment, the nice one moment brought to you by N1Bet. Liquid look to JK Snax to complete. What? This is a link that Lucas is just spamming.
Oh, this is from like 8 minutes ago from Ryan.
Just to.us. Liquid look to JK Snax to complete IM clone roster. Well, let me have
looked a look.
Or look. Looked.
I mean, I know
Liquid
it says looked, but I don't know if. Wait, I'm just trying to.
I don't know. Justin was last online 2 hours ago.
I can deconfirm this partly, at least instantly, because Snax is our stand-in for that event, and he cannot be stand-in for anyone else because he has a 120-day period since his last stand-in stint where he cannot stand in for any other team. So he might as well just remove this Snax from the article.
Okay. Well, there you go. All right.
And it actually says Liquid are locked out from using him for 120. It actually says it there. It's just,
well, okay, then it's in the article.
So it's just a headline. Okay. Well, the JKS situation.
That's really low-hanging fruit, huh?
But let me put it this way for you. JKS was last online 2 hours ago, and we talk every day, and he didn't tell me anything about Liquid.
There you go. Immediately debunked.
Take Ryan's article down.
Fuck Ryan.
Anyway, moving forward to the N1 moment. Lucas, you got the pitch up? Here we go. This is the N1 moment of the week, everybody. This is a fun one. I made a meme. Here we go. This is the one. How it started. SDY with a team spirit tattoo on his arm, and how it's going, lifting the Blast Lisbon trophy alongside a NAVI, wearing a NAVI jersey with the best player in the world, saying that he wants to play. He hopes that SDY is there in Cologne. So things have gone pretty fucking well for SDY. He was in spirit for a very long time. He ends up getting a tattoo. That's how long he was there, loving his time. Then he ends up getting benched alongside Amir because apparently Amir's hard to work with. He's teamless for a while. He heads over to Mad Lions, which is basically an academy level fucking team. Then there's a war where he can't travel to play or boot camp with his team, and he's fucking stuck. And then his team, they don't go under, but they stop supporting Counter-Strike, so now he's teamless. And then he gets picked up for Navi as a stand-in, pracs for a week, goes to an event and wins a trophy. So that's the N1 moment. It's a pretty cool fucking storyline if you're SDY. Things worked out pretty well for him, I think, right there. So that's what I chose to highlight this week as the N1 moment. Good stuff for SDY. Everyone give him a round of applause at home. Everyone's happy about that. Everyone happy? Snappy's got a big smile on his face. He's happy.
Yeah, I'm
Snappy, you
happy for him because he's always been a very nice guy whenever I came across him. So I'm very happy for how it turned out for him. So yeah, he's always been a good guy from my experience.
Fun little story there, isn't it, Striker?
Yeah, I have to say, because like maybe whatever it is now, but like 4 years ago, we actually saw as DOI somebody who could, potentially be like a Navi player, in the future, maybe if they're looking for a replacement or whatever. But like since then, he's kind of like fallen off the radar, and we didn't really see him as a player that should like be in a top team, top 5 team like a Navi. But suddenly he gets the chance and wins the first event that he's at. So cool story for sure.
Well, this just happened. Norse just
Yeah, I saw that.
you
Just
see
now.
that? He just got
Yeah, I
trolled
got
by the
sidetracked by
CS:GO
that.
blog. Let me put this in for everybody. I'll put it in the chat for everybody. This is on the Valve blog at the moment. Which is today's date. It says this is a test, nothing more promised. So I'm going to be curious. Maybe Valve have got some couple of other tricks coming up their sleeve very
Probably
soon.
found some bugs already on the maps, no?
Yeah, fucking hell. Hopefully it's pretty standard. Okay, that was the M1 moment. Let's continue to fly through the show. Snappy, if you want to leave at any point, mate, feel free. I know you've had a long day. I apologize.
It's all good. It's all good. No worries. No worries. It's
my
fine.
first time hosting. Prof's not here to hold my hand. It all kind of fucking falls apart at some point. Okay. We're going to go into the Roobet Cup, which is coming up in a couple of days' time. Now, Lucas, you're going to have to do some fucking moving and shit, mate. So, Lucas, I'm going to send you this. Snappy, you might want to use the preview for this one, just so you can see what's happening here. Lucas, I just sent you the tier maker. So, for Roobet Cup, guys, I want to kind of set the context for everybody playing at home that this is, well, hold up. Let me get all the details of the event first so that you all know what's going on.
What do you want me to look at?
Do you have the webcam page with all our beautiful faces on it?
Yeah.
Okay,
I have a small thing down on the right.
Yeah, that one right there on the right will pop up soon, and you can make it full screen so you can see the tier maker. But this tier maker right here, and the reason I want to talk about Roobet Cup is this is an event which is running from June 22nd until June 30th, so starting in a couple of days' time. It's got a 250k prize pool. It's 16 teams, but it's online. It's going to be group stage GSL best of 3, and then the playoffs a single elimination best of 3 bracket, right? So pretty basic stuff, as you guys, most tournaments. Lots of teams here: FaZe, ENCE, Cloud9, FURIA, Big, Astralis, OG, Imperial, Outsiders, MOUZ, Movistar Riders, forZe, Entropiq, Eternal Fire, Complexity, and 9Z. Now, the thing is with this event, it in my mind, for the teams who are going to be in Cologne, this is a tune-up event, right? In my mind, this is a way just to get all the last kind of kinks out the way, make sure everybody's on point, and learn what you can about the other teams as you go into Cologne and do your best. Snappy, may as well get this one from the horse's mouth because you're here. For ENCE, what type of an event is the Roobet Cup? Is it, as I just framed it, a bit more of a tune-up event?
Yeah, it's a warm-up event in a way. Obviously, we are there to do good, and we are not gonna have. Well, we will try to, of course, do our best, but it's also an event where we know the preparation we had coming into isn't going to be the best. Obviously, we've been traveling, and we will only have one prac day before the event, so I think you'll see a lot of the teams who's been home probably coming in a bit hotter than us and FaZe and maybe Big and some other OG. I think the teams that have not been playing Blast is probably more ready coming into this event because everyone is returning today. Tomorrow is going to be an off day, and then people will maybe prac Wednesday. I don't know. I think we play Thursday. I don't know if the tournament starts Wednesday.
I think it starts Wednesday. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is Wednesday.
Yeah, so some teams will come in without any prac. Maybe potentially FaZe, if they play on the Thursday, they will come in most likely without having any prac before the tournament, which will obviously probably put their expectations a little bit lower. And I think a team like Cloud9, for example, is probably the favorite due to the fact that they've been home for the entire week getting ready for this event.
I like that line of thinking for sure.
Yeah, and that's kind of the whole purpose of this here. So with this tier maker that we're going to go to do today, it's not like who's going to win or anything and who's going to bomb out. It's what this event means to different teams, right? Because for everybody here, it means something a little bit different. So we've got a bunch of categories here. Starting at the top, playoff run required. The second one down, need to be competitive. The third one down, can't get grouped. Following that, learning experience. And the last one is a wild card category. If we don't really know where some of these teams fit, we can put them in that wild card category. So let's kind of kick this off.
It's gonna get big because I cannot even read what it says.
Are you able to? So if you hover
do
the mouse across it, you should be able to expand it like full screen.
yeah, top right in large video, unlike the parts.
No, yeah, now I only see striker.
No, the one where it's a preview.
There. Wait. Now, yes, now I see it.
Nice. Okay, so let's start in order here. Let's just start with 9Z. I want to put these guys in the wildcard category immediately here because they don't even have a fifth. So for these guys, it's either learning experience. We get to learn about who their fifth is, or they get to learn about how they're going to approach this. Because for these guys, it's just an online event, right? This for them.
How did these groups end up this way? Holy shit!
I don't know, man. I it's online Counter-Strike. Who cares?
Fair enough.
Yeah, like why not? Just put everybody in the same group.
I'm just looking at Group A compared to like a Group D. And it's
some teams got replaced, right? Some teams got replaced. Like forZe, for example, are replacing someone else, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, Godsent, but then Godsent wouldn't have been like a higher up team anyway. Yeah, whatever. That doesn't matter. But it's just weird because like you look at Group A, right? And there's FaZe OG, obviously OG, like we've seen them now at Blast, and it's not like they could have seeded it just before, but like FaZe OG, Big and Entropiq in one.
Yeah, it's definitely
group.
The hardest group.
And then you guys have like then you have FURIA, 9Z Outsiders, forZe, a lot of like very big question marks in one group, So it's really it's really unbalanced.
Okay. Well, I guess we can reference the group that they're in.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely gonna have to like go back and forth because some of these teams who are supposed to do pretty well are gonna have a hard time, like an Entropiq or like a Big, for example.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, well, with 9Z, they're in a group with FURIA, Outsiders, and forZe. So, like, there is a chance that this team, could sneak through. But the thing is, like I said, they don't even have a fifth. So let's just put them in the wildcard category.
Yeah.
Or the learning experience category because it's going to be one of those two. Now, Astralis are in a group with Cloud9 Complexity and Movistar Riders.
They cannot get grouped.
Can't get grouped is my thinking too.
Okay.
Because if they do that, it's a disaster for them. Because
it's a bad group.
It's only Cloud9 they shouldn't be winning against. So if they go out of that group, it's a disaster, I think.
Yep.
Okay, I like that one. Big, they are in the group with, as you mentioned, Entropiq, OG, and FaZe.
So, I think they just need to be competitive. What is the top one playoffs run? I think it needs to be competitive because I think this is a group where it could go wrong without them necessarily being mega bad.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, they could like the thing is like they could be anywhere from first to fourth in this group. I feel like depending on what kind of a phase shows up, and then the rest of them they can beat, but then like it's very up in the air. So they could be just very up and down for them. So competitive, I like.
Okay, well, Cloud9, based off of the context that you were just giving us, Snappy, would you put them in the playoffs run required?
Yeah, and I also think they will. I think they're always strong online, first of all, and second of all, they are the team that have had the best preparation of the best teams coming into this.
Okay.
Yep.
Apart from Astralis, maybe, but I mean, I consider Cloud9 above Astralis.
Okay. Sure. So what about you guys? Where would you put your team on this list?
I think, well, it's been tough. As I said, we won't be having any prec, and we probably need it a lot right now. So it's going to be like well, I would actually say
well, the event is practice.
I would actually say it is a learning experience because obviously Cologne is our focus, but at the same time, I do also think we should
you can't get
have a playoff.
You can't get grouped. Like
put us on learning experience, no pressure.
Yeah, there you go. See, we'll leave it. It's you're in the group with the Tunnel Fire, Imperial, and Mouse. Your group is kind of easy, right?
I'm not gonna say anything.
Doesn't get baited.
I tried, but then I also bowed him out as well. All right, Complexity. Striker, surely they need to be competitive. Otherwise, that's it.
I mean, 100%. That's it. They're not competitive. We just need to see something from them. At this point, like it's just ridiculous. So I agree.
All right. Entropiq. I feel like they've only played a couple of games so far with Mia, right? Now we get to see them in a tournament in a group where they're against big names. So I just think that this team needs to be competitive. Like it also could be a learning experience because it is them now playing like consistent games with Mia.
I think a learning experience is fine, but I think they could definitely like do a very good run in this tournament. It's not out of the question. Like I think no matter who goes out from Group A, the two teams that progress will probably have a decent chance of doing a good playoff run. All four, I think.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, let's leave them in. Yeah, fuck it. Leave it in learning experience. It's an easy one. Okay. The Turkish side of Eternal Fire, Striker, where are you putting this mob? Because for them, like it's a slow kind of gradual, one step forward, two step back type situation where they're, it feels like they're making some moves and then maybe they're not, and they just qualified for Pro League, so they're going to be on a bit of a high there.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I'm just looking at the group and Imperial Mouse with them. I mean, like getting out of groups isn't out of the question for them, but it's not like an expectation.
I think they also need to be competitive at this point because they had the roster for enough time now that
Yeah.
they cannot just be bad.
Okay, I like
Fair
that.
enough.
I like that.
Yeah. I don't know if
Uh,
they're going to get out of that group, but I think they just need to show that they could
Yeah,
against, like a Mouse Ends.
but
So
haven't
I
they
think
had the like the lineup has been going on for a long time now, right? It's not
yep.
like it's a new
It's the reason.
lineup
No,
at
no,
all.
not at all.
X-Cloud was the only one that was kind of like a
And it's
recent
so long,
change.
it's
Which
been a
isn't
while.
Yeah,
really
but he
Yeah.
was he
recent,
was still there even in 2021, right?
Yeah,
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 yeah.
it's
So
been
it's
there's
like
been at
he's
least
not
half a
new
year.
either, so they should be competitive.
Yep. Okay. What about FaZe?
I would put them in learning experience also, especially because now they had some rough events, and I think their main focus is Cologne anyway. I think they will use this as practice for Cologne. Obviously, I think you can put us and FaZe in can't get groups, need to be competitive, players required, and learning experience all at the same time. But I think the main reason for playing this is to be ready for Cologne for
Yeah.
both of us at the end of the day.
I
Yeah.
do think it's they kind of need to get some confidence back though, because Dallas was like obviously Dallas was close. They could have easily like beaten Cloud9 and then had at least a chance at the title, right? But then the Blast they really didn't go well for them. So I feel like confidence wise, they maybe do need to at least get a good result here and not get grouped. So that they don't feel like they're just not peaking and going into the biggest event for the rest of the season, right?
I
Yeah.
mean, you can put us in the same category. I
Yeah,
would say we are pretty
I
much
agree.
similar in the way that we can be put in different categories for this event because there is different objectives of playing it. I think you could easily put both us and FaZe up and can't get grouped also because
Yeah.
shouldn't be, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's just one of these things though, right? Because for FaZe, since the major, right, you can use the term the post major hangover, right? We all saw that article we referenced it last week, I think, Striker, about the fact
Yeah.
that no team other than Navi won their following event after winning a major, right? But then
But most of them did
it's going to
start winning.
compound.
Did start winning back. So
Yeah, but it's going to compound, right? Like, and even
Yeah.
though it's an online event that they've signed themselves up for here, like if it goes really badly, like if
they get grouped out of this, it's not a good look going into Cologne for sure.
if
Like
they
they
get
would have a lot of
stomped,
time. Fair
like
enough. But
I
yeah.
don't expect them to get stomped. Like I'm living in worst case right now. Like this is why I'd put FaZe in worst case. Like then I mean in wild card. And the
Yeah.
reason is because for FaZe, I think if they get grouped, it's fine. I think if they go for a deep playoffs run, it's fine. The only thing that I think they have to avoid is just not getting stomped. Just not getting fucking blown out, right? If they get blown out, that's the only way things go bad. Because then you go into Cologne with no confidence at all that you got blown out online. Like, after getting blown out on LAN.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, they should be beating all these three teams.
Yeah,
Like
but it's
in any
online,
sort of
man.
Yeah, but
reasonable.
all of
in
them
any
is
sort of-
gonna like it's still gonna be hard in an online match coming
Yeah, I'm not
directly
saying
from
it,
LAN
I'm not saying
without
that they
Prac.
will. I'm just
Because
saying
they
that
will
they
have no
probably think
Prac,
they
and I
should.
think we need to put that into consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's put him in my wild card category, Luke, because I want to whack him down there. People
That's
can
it.
watch it for the context. Wait, forZe? No, FaZe. Yeah, bring FaZe. There you go. forZe is a curious one. forZe are in the group with Outsiders, 9Z, and FURIA. I think to build on their major performance, like I would like to see them being competitive here, right?
Yeah.
So like the major performance doesn't feel like it was just like a flash in the pan type situation. I don't know if anybody else agrees with that.
And also, it's the kind of a group where they could do well. Like they have chances for sure. Like Outsiders playing still with their new lineup. Not really sure if they're going to be anywhere near the level that we saw when they still had Yakinder and Buster, right? And so FURIA are really the only kind of like stable team in this group. So forZe could definitely go through.
What about FURIA, Snappi?
I think they need to have they definitely cannot get grouped because they come.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, like if they've been in Europe for some time now, but if they are sitting and practicing in Europe, they definitely cannot get grouped. I would also say, or they actually have to. Nah, they just can't get grouped. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually
especially
have
in this group.
Man, they're playing Valencia and then Cologne. They literally, if they go far here, they're literally not going to stop for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks straight. because they're playing Roobet Cup. That's until the June 30th. So let's say they go far and they play at least like whatever 2 days before. On July 1st they play Valencia. So how the fuck are they even going to make it over? Like if they play the final of Roobet Cup, they have to play it from Valencia or something.
Dude, there's fucking 4 Brazilian teams at that event. FURIA, MIBR, Hummer, and Godsend. That's half the teams in the
And Valencia,
Valencia
right?
event
Yeah,
are Brazilian.
Yeah, true.
What the fuck? That's
Anyway,
crazy.
I just noticed that they are actually playing both of these things.
Yeah, let's put them in can't be grouped. Imperial. Now this is a fun one. Who wants this one? Prof's not here. I'd normally throw this one to him. Striker, you want to do the
Wait,
Imperial one?
got out of they're in the ENCE group, right?
Yes, indeed.
Man, they have to be competitive, right? They need to be competitive because after what we saw at Pinnacle Cup, where we definitely didn't see anywhere near the kind of a performance that we saw at the major. I think we just have to see them do at least reasonably well. I'm not saying they have to get out of this group, but take Mouse to a decent series. Play like beat Eternal Fire, stuff like this. They don't necessarily have to get out of the group. They just can't get stomped. Like I think otherwise people will just go, well, major was just a flash in the pan.
Okay. Maus here, I think they need to be competitive. If Maus aren't competitive now, like what's this team doing?
Yep.
Like what are we doing here with this roster? Is it time to like completely mix things up?
No, but they're in the same end. Like I don't think they shouldn't get grouped also because like they're not playing Cologne, are they? This is their main focus.
You're right, actually. I don't.
Oh
think
yeah,
they're
they.
playing
Oh
Cologne.
well, are they? Actually, I'm wrong. Maybe they are in the play.
No,
They are
they're
in Cologne. They're in the plains.
Ah, okay. Well, then maybe not so. But if they weren't, they definitely couldn't get. They had to progress in that sense because it's the last. That would have been the last event of the season. But I guess then they just need to be competitive. And to be fair, I probably think you have to put us and FaZe up. We have to do better. We cannot just get away with this, can we?
You can though, but that's the thing though. But it's different for you guys. It means less for you, right?
Yeah,
these
but
teams
still,
have no confidence, nothing to fall back on. You guys have confidence. Like FaZe won the major. You guys have been hyper competitive in 90% of the events you played. So it's like you're comparing team who can't.
It's good. I will accept the excuse.
There you go. You like it?
It's nice. It's nice.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to go with this.
I'm being kind.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Who else we got here? Movistar Riders, OG, and Outsiders. I think Movistar Riders is a weird one for me.
Yep.
This is weird because it's like they have some nice pieces, but it just like it was good when we seen it a couple times. I feel like they need to go back and then come up with a couple more little gimmicks and stuff, like a Mopos mid smoke on Ancient, and then come back with another one.
Put them in the wildcard category then.
Wildcard category?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Like they could do good or bad.
And they're also that type of a team. Like they can take some upsets, but it's not like we have high expectations of them overall. So I think that's a good place for them.
Okay.
They're also playing all 3 events that I was just talking about, by the way.
Nice.
OG are not in play-in now. They are not in the play-in. They have to.
I'm pretty sure you're right. I'll just check for sure.
They have to keep on the. They have to stay on their high.
Yeah,
they should run.
Maybe, yeah. Why not? Like
let's go ambitious.
They came and they did good here at Blast. It will be the last big event where there's other good teams. So I would say that they will try their hardest. I can't see why they would not, because after that they're literally on vacation. I would say, like so.
For Montu's sake,
they might as well go all in. They might as well go all in on this event.
Okay, all right. I like it. And
with
the final...
Degster up on the market and just having played with OG and shown them that there is a way, I think for Bantu's sake, they just have to go to the playoffs.
Actually, yeah, that's another little side storyline that we got going on right there. The last one is Outsiders. I feel this for me is a learning experience because I
would say so. They have 2 new players, right?
Yeah, and the event they just played, the conference, was against like other tier 2 teams. Like
they were really confident there, to be fair. Like they just blew past both.
This would be a bit more of a test, right? Like sure, let's say they get out of the groups, right? Cool. And then we get to see them and get some bigger names and see how they do. I think I want to see how Norbert and Fame are kind of fitting into the mix, right? So for me, learning experience. All right, cool. I like that. Bit of a different exercise. Frame that up. Roobet Cup starting in a couple of days. It's over there. I think you got Yanko there and Moses.
How the fuck did we end up with FaZe and Wildcard? Can we just move them somewhere where it makes more sense?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that they're a wildcard team.
I know, but like it's just like we used entirely different.
All right,
but I think both us and FaZe could be in a lot of the categories, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
but
do this.
like,
Let's
but you
apply
can't put
pressure.
FaZe and wildcard next to 9Z and Movistar, right? It's
Put
like,
us in
that's
all
just
5, man.
ridiculous. Yeah, just put them
I've
everywhere.
got the answer. I've got the answer. So that FaZe eventually drop out of the top 3, put them in playoffs run required. I want to apply pressure to them.
Yeah, that's
Move 'em
what
up.
I was gonna say from like a personal perspective, for my sake.
Put them up. I'm gonna get there. This is the thing. If FaZe continue to bomb out, what are we? All of the above. There we go. Okay.
That's a
If-
good-
How did forZe end up it can't get grouped, by the way? Do we expect them to just progress? I do not.
No, it's more like that's not the same thing, right? Like we're just putting it
Okay.
more as like, what is it gonna mean if they do get grouped? You know,
Okay.
that probably means they're like, how much does it mean to them?
I think to build on their major performance, which was a pretty good performance, I think they should be ahead of outsiders now. Like at the
Yeah,
moment.
or at least like being at least on par, you know.
Yeah.
Which obviously they weren't before.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. We're happy with this?
Yeah, I think so. It's fine.
All right,
Yeah, it's
Lucas,
okay.
run the bumper. We're getting into playtime. We got one last topic to discuss. We're going to save the Source 2 conspiracy theory and the free agent watch until next time. We got something fun to get into after this. Don't go anywhere. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the whole reason we brought Snappi on the show tonight, and this is a very serious topic here. We're going to talk about Blast and the format, aren't we, Snappi?
Ooh.
I know that you're a big fan of this. Let me just type Blast format into the title bar right here for playtime. So we know that you've been quite vocal on the social medias before, Snappi. You and I even had a little bit of a chit chat in some DMs not that long ago. Lucas, I'm going to link you these, and you can bring these Snappi tweets up as you will. Let's just go through a couple of them, and Snappi can talk to us through these tweets. So the first one says, qualified through the first qualifier that qualifies you to the qualifier that qualifies you to the partner team's relegation qualifier that qualifies you to the spring finals. Good job, Benz. So maybe too many hoops to jump through here, Snappi?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously just referring to the fact that we played 21 maps to even get into Blast, which is obviously an insane amount. And it's also referring to the fact that I don't think we were not in the same situation back then when we played these qualifiers. So obviously we need to go through some sort of qualification process. But I do also think it's not so good that now at the next Blast, now Heroic is gonna be a partner, I think. But before that, they weren't. Us, Cloud9, Heroic, FURIA. Spirit. That's 5 teams in the top 10 that pretty much don't get a chance to to play in Blast almost. There's only one team that will go through the showdown, and that could also be a partner team if they do good in the showdown round. So I just think they should open it up a bit more, and I think it would be better for their own events. I think it would be better, like if, in my opinion, at least, if they ever want to get up and be alongside Pro League or Katowice or Cologne, they need the best teams there. And until they have the best teams there, it's not gonna, the trophies from those tournaments are just not gonna be respected the same way, because it's not as hard tournaments to win. So I think they would benefit themselves from getting some of the best teams in. What they could do, like if they want to keep the showdown, they could potentially do 16 teams instead of 12 teams. Then they could the first 4 GSL groups. First team goes straight to the finals. The second places play the second place from another group, and then you get 2 more spots. Then you can still have a showdown in EU and NA. The 4 extra teams could be decided that 2 of them are world ranking. One is from a European qualifier, one is from a NA qualifier, something like this. And you would open it up a bit more while still keeping it very partner friendly. And I think it would benefit their own tournaments a lot, in the sense that they would be way more legitimate to win than they are right now.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I think Blast Circuit is definitely the most closed.
Yeah, without question, of course, it's not even close.
But a lot of people at home don't like. A lot of the fans and viewers at home, Snappi, they see the teams that they like at these events, and they go, "This is all good," right? They don't understand. And this tweet right here that you made is probably the most important out of the bunch. 2,400 points for winning an online group stage for partner teams, 2,000, 1,600, and 1,400 for getting second at a major and S tier lands. Also, more points to Astralis for not qualifying for spring finals than ENCE for qualifying through a qualifier to won't get started. Now, This change happened this year, right? With the
yeah,
points,
like
right?
it's something that people didn't even notice that Blast did. Blast made it more partner friendly this year. Last year they gave 1,600 points for winning the online group stage, and now they in 2022 they bumped that up to 2,400, and obviously they also bumped up other points for getting second or third or whatever in their own group stage, which is a change that nobody really noticed. It went under the radar, I guess. And they didn't really change the point system for other tournaments, which means that it became even more partner biased, their own qualification system to the world finals. And you can look at it now, you can see a team like Vitality, they got 4,400 points for finishing second at Blast, pretty much, because they got 2,400 from the group stage and then they got 2,000 afterwards. If you put that into perspective, that one tournament, Blast, which is inarguably easier than the major or Katowice, because all of the best teams will be present. If you get second at Katowice and second at the major, you will get 3,600 points. So you get 800 points more by finishing second in Blast than you would get by finishing second at the two biggest tournaments this year so far. And in my opinion, that's obviously a big problem. And pretty much you can qualify for the world finals by just doing good in Blast, because there's only 6 tournaments that matters in the point system, which means that even if you do very good at all tournaments that are not Blast, you could still, like, let's say Vitality does absolutely nothing apart from the 2 Blast tournaments. They would get 4,400 plus 4,400. That's 8,800 points just by finishing second in 2 Blast events, while bombing out of every single tournament this year. They would still qualify, because there's no way teams could get enough point from other tournaments. Because if you take Katowice, that's 1,600 points. Then you take Pro League, I think that's 1,400 to 1,200. So then you get to like 2,800. Then you put 1,200 from Dallas. Then that's 4,000 points. You keep racking up second places. Then you get 1,600 points from Cologne. That's 5,600. And then no matter what, you won't get to the point that the Blast partner teams have in the point system, which means that it's going to be mega hard for all teams to, well, pretty much make it. And that's why the system is so broken, in my opinion. And this is not hate towards Blast, because I alluded to it a lot of times that I think they have the best production. I like a lot of the people behind Blast. It is just the 1 or 2 people, or potentially the partner teams, who want it this way because they're obviously buying into the league, that is creating a system that is so unfair for every other team. And in my opinion, at the end of the day, it's going to hurt the event's legitimacy, because it won't have the best teams present.
I mean, you
Yep.
can see it already now. You were talking about 5 out of the top 10 teams. There's basically, like, especially with the way that they did it now, where only one European team could make it to the finals, which is obviously you guys this time. On top of the partner teams, that's like, obviously there's way more teams that would potentially deserve that spot. With 5 other teams in the top 10 who can't even get to it then. So, like, obviously that those events are never going to be like the cream of the crop unless fucking
Yeah, and I think they
miracle
want
happens.
that. I think they want Copenhagen to be like I think they want Blast Copenhagen to be like a Cologne or
Yeah,
Katowice.
sure.
At least I would assume so. But it will just never be.
Well, this is the
It just
thing,
has to
right?
increase the total number of teams. Like, if you want to keep like enough partner slots at the actual finals, then the only way for you to actually increase the competition is just by increasing the number of teams. There's no getting around that. Like, 8 teams is just not going to cut it if you want to have the biggest events.
But Blast have never run more than like an 8-team
No,
LAN event, right?
no.
So,
No. But
like,
there's still more teams, and obviously they're like in before. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with only having 8 teams at the LAN event, as long as you have the best team present in order to qualify for that LAN event. And that's the thing they
yeah,
don't have now, right?
Right.
you can't have so many teams. Just like, this is the thing that we spoke about on last week's show. Like, I think I said like 3 or 4 months, right, Striker, where this is where the teams, 4 of the teams who were in the spring
Who
final qualified
Yeah.
at the start of the
Yeah,
year,
it was
because it was the first
it was
event.
more than 4 months. It was like
I had
January,
the
even like
exact
5 months,
figure,
I think,
didn't
right?
I? Yeah, I had the exact figure. I was like,
I think
4
spring
months.
groups were like January something.
And it was 40 days, 43 days or something between the showdown and then the finals.
The spring
right?
groups. Oh, okay, we were right. Actually, it was
Yeah.
January 28th to February 6th was the spring group. So let's say February 6th you qualified, and the finals were now 4 and something months. 4 months
Yeah.
and a week or so.
And I think fortunately it worked out that they had a couple of the bigger names that they needed, right? But I think the thing is, it's like spring group runner up and spring group winner. Like, how are we having the runner up and the winner qualify? Like, if you just had the winner qualify from each of the groups, right? Because there's
Then you have
3
3 teams,
groups.
yeah.
Yeah, and then you would have 5 spots to fill in different ways that Snappi was talking about here. And they could still give all the teams, right, who were runners up the ability to play in the showdown anyway, right? Because the showdown is a qualifier for the partner teams who failed at the group stage. Like, they
Pretty
get 2
much.
Yeah,
shots,
pretty
whereas
much.
nobody else gets 2 shots.
Yeah, I
Everybody else
just don't
gets
like
1
the
shot.
fact that people don't start from the same stage. Like, I think if you look at EPL or Katowice or whatever, the best team will be present starting from the same point as every other team, right?
Hmm.
And that is why the tournaments, in my opinion, are very legitimate, because you can't say that the best teams aren't there. They are there. Like, if you win it, you beat all of them, or you perform better than all of them, right?
Yeah.
And I think it is a issue if you really wanna, because I think they have everything else already done. Like, their events is just top tier, and their production is top tier. I think they just need this last tweak in order to make their tournaments like a true contender to challenge like what is actually the best event to win apart from the major. It could be Blast Copenhagen if they did it the right way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I think that the key points here is the community, like the feedback they get from the viewers at home. Most viewers at home, the numbers that you were just throwing out there, are the fact that there were numbers involved and all those points and shit. Most people probably have no fucking idea what you're talking about, to be completely honest, right? Like, it's not
No.
something which, and I would say that a lot of players as well, like Snappy, you're one of few. You're like a unicorn. You're a player who cares about a format, right? You're few and far between, and the reason that probably is because you're an in-game leader and you're a little bit more interested in things like that, right? So this is why this kind of stuff isn't as spoken about as it probably should be, and maybe a job that we should be doing a little bit better here. I know we bring up when sometimes the ESL ranking. I know Striker likes to talk about when they have dog shit point allegation. Allegation?
Allocation.
It's not an allegation. It's definitely not an allegation.
No.
Allocation. But I am hearing murmurs that things might be changing in that regard as well. We also know that for Cologne, like the way that they're going to qualify for that is also changing a little bit as well. But I don't know, Snabby, what do you think? Like, because the way that they get teams to qualify for the World Finals, right, is if you win the major, is that you win Pro League.
Yeah, I
Like,
think that's a really good. I think that's pretty nice, to be honest. I
That's a
think
good part of the format.
I think in general, it's not like of course I understand that the partner teams need to get kind of ahead in order to be interested in being partner teams. I just think it gotten to a bit like to the point where it's too big of a favor to be a partner team, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with the fact that they start like for a team like EG or a team like Complexity. Yeah, they have no business being in that tournament if they weren't a partner team. And I think that should be the main, driving force, that they are always there no matter where they are in the ranking, right?
Hmm.
Then on top of that, you obviously gain the option to get more points through those things in order to qualify for the World Finals. But I just think that the fact that you can only perform in Blast events throughout a whole year and qualify for World Finals is not so good, in my opinion, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what's worse about it is that if there is a competition clause, regarding the partnership, we don't know about it. We don't know if it exists. Like, I've seen somebody alluding to something like that existing from MIBR, I think, like from somebody from the MIBR team. Obviously, they just they got opted out of the
They
system,
sold
and the
their
Heroic
spot, didn't
replaced.
they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Heroic replaced them or bought their slot or whatever. There was like a reference to we might have gone out anyway based on like our performances, but we've never heard anything. And you would imagine that if Blast wanted to legitimize this system a little bit more, they would tell people, okay, if teams are going to be shit, then we're just going to kick them out, or there's going to be something in place,
Yeah.
right? So I imagine there just isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's a lot more variables that they can control, right? So I could
I feel
build
like as
a
long as
massive
teams.
list.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I could build a massive list of why this is good for a TO and the teams. It's harder for me to build a massive list of why this is good for Counter-Strike and
Yeah.
competitive nature. Sorry,
Yeah.
Snappy, what were you gonna say?
No, I just said, like, of course, like, they're gonna keep all the partner teams that actually try to make changes to become better, I think. Like, you cannot just expect that you make changes and then it's suddenly gonna be mega good. But I think as long as the TO sees that those team are actually trying to make an effort to make the team better, that's gonna be enough for them. And I also think that's a legitimate reason to keep them if they're actively trying to change things for the better, right? Because you're not always gonna be on top, and some very good organizations might drop down for a few years and then pop back up if they keep trying, right? So I don't think they should be punished for that. And I do think there should be partner bias, because that is the whole reason for having this system in place. It's just, yeah, it's too much in my opinion. And that's why I'm
Okay.
obviously speaking out against it.
Yeah,
Need some
I mean,
tinkering.
just for comparison, you were talking about 21 maps played just to get to the Blast final for basically any of the group's teams, because the first stage didn't really matter. Like you could lose everything in the first, like in this new system where they had like the Rumble stage or whatever they call it. That first stage basically didn't matter because you still got into the second one, and there you just had to win 2 series to get to Blast final.
Yeah.
So you had to win 4 maps. You guys played to 21 and
Yeah,
had
yeah.
to win.
And
I
I
think you had to win
but
15.
I don't even think there's not, like, it's not the qualification process. Like, obviously it's a bit too much, but I do think, like, if you are of course a lower ranked team, you cannot expect to
No,
get
I mean, of
invited
course.
into, like, well, a showdown. You have to qualify for there, and I think that's fine. I think the showdown is fine. I just think that they should start 16 teams instead of 12, and 4 of them could be non-partner teams, and it would still be a massive, advantage to all the
Yeah,
partner teams just being there in the first place without having to do anything for it, really.
that's fair.
And like I think that a lot of these things, like when I think about this, my brain like goes, okay, so TO side, so they're gonna need maybe like an extra couple of days, and they'll need an extra couple of like prac room, like and all those details right there. And this is the thing, right? Like I know Blast run good events, and that means that HLTV forums and Reddit and everybody kicks off, and you get the question again, which I've answered on this show about Blast and hosting majors and stuff, right? But like this is something we have to make sure we always keep in mind with Blast, like they know what they can do well, and they continue to do that. Whereas other TOs go, what's the craziest thing that we could pull off? How many people can we fit in an arena? And then they fail at that, right? Blast continue to deliver consistently on their quality of what they're able to do. But like them being able to adjust a couple of these little details, it doesn't feel like that should break anything. Like it doesn't feel
No, I
like
don't
it should
think so.
completely
I
fuck
think the
anything.
main thing is maybe the part. I don't know. Like, it could also just be the partner teams who wants it this way, obviously, because, well, it's an advantage for their CS:GO teams, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it also could also track back quite a long time to when this deal first started and what kind of conditions were in place for that. Maybe Blast said, you're always going to get this and this and this, and you're only not going to get that if you're really shit. Basically, like
Mm.
that's pretty
Yeah,
much the condition. And so if that's a deal for the next 5 years, then Blast kind of tied their hands with that deal. So like at
yeah.
this point, maybe it's just going to take some time before those things can change. Obviously, that's Blast's fault, or their system in the first place. But I'm just saying that could be playing into it.
I think this is important though, like especially with for people to watch this who are maybe watching it now, watch it later or whatever. Like this is an important discussion topic, right? Because these kind of things, like we're happy to talk about like the major format and Swiss and best of ones and the best of threes and all that kind of stuff. But like stuff like this tends to go under the radar. Like it doesn't get discussed. It's
Yeah.
not really a big talking point. It's not highlighted. Like this point change went under the radar. It's something that you would think that we would be talking about, Striker, but like
I actually didn't know about it until
that's what I
Snappi
mean,
just told
right?
us just before this that we went live. So
Exactly. So like for us in this kind of situation, like it's happening, and we're not keeping the finger on the pulse. So this is very important topic to be discussed, and I think it puts a lot of things in perspective for people when they want to look at it that way. Because Snappy makes some good points with it there. So, boys, we've almost been going for 3 hours. I'm sure Snappy
crazy.
wants to have a shower and go to fucking bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he's got 2 days off, and then he has to go play a fucking tournament in a couple of days' time. So, from this very spot, ladies and gentlemen, you're probably going to
Yeah.
see him here in this very spot in the webcam very, very soon. Look, there was some questions coming through, but I think I'm flicking through them right now. I think a lot of them we covered off throughout. Like a lot of them are just kind of the standard bits and bobs that come on through here. Let me just have a quick scroll. There might. Oh, shox, Effia. She wants to know: do you know the children's song "Snee Sna Snappy"? Der kleine Krokodil?
I didn't until I decided to name myself Snappi, and then I definitely
You
got
learned about
told
it.
about it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Nice. One quick one here is difference. Fuck it. Fuck it. We've done enough, mate. We've done 3 hours. Let's call it. We're all good. We've nailed it. We really appreciate you coming and joining us today on the travel day of all days. Now, Snappi, the floor is open to you, mate, as we close down the show. Do you want to say anything to the people at home?
Wanna wait. I know what I do.
Okay.
I prepared this. Thanks to whatever I can't pronounce on top. And then thanks to Volt, Logitech, Noble Chairs, Gyms, and Telia. And ENCE, of course.
Lovely. Okay. They're perfect. He's done the pitch. He's got all the sponsors in there. Natu's happy. He's smiling ear to ear. But yeah, thanks, Snappi, for joining us. We appreciate it. It's been good. A good chat. We spoke everything from CS updates to formats to, Counter-Strike in general. Striker, you got anything you want to say to the viewers?
Yeah, I just can't believe that we actually got the 3 hours and 3 people. Usually we are actually pretty all right.
It flew by, didn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Lucas, sorry for holding you an extra hour, mate. Oh, and lastly, FTW qualified for Pro League over Illumina. So they're that kind of wildcard team for Pro League. There it is. The night's closed. Thanks again to Bitskins, N1Bet, Gamble Responsibly, and Xtrfy, longest sponsor of the show. We'll be back next Monday, the 27th. We'll work something out. We haven't locked that one in. That's kind of penciled at the moment. And then we'll do one later in the week before Cologne kicks off. And we'll be bringing you a live show from Cologne. Prof will have all the details for that coming very, very soon. But thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for another HLTV Confirmed. And we'll see you all next time.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
Stuck ranking up? Lost the motivation to grind? Bored of clicking heads on aim maps? Get some color into your game. Bitskins.com. Buying and selling skins made easy. Tons of payment methods and instant cash outs. Just choose your dream skins, select your preferred payment method, and start grinding again. If you want to play like the pros, you gotta look like the pros.